presence than it ever should have.
I get my lettuce at the grocery store triple wide.
This is the man claiming to be the coolest person on the show.
I'm definitely hipper than Ack.
Ackerman,
I don't know about that. I wouldn't go there.
Doing a Ralph Lauren polo 3/4.
Yeah,
sure.
What's wrong with that? A little
You
flash.
make Eli Manning look like he's ready to walk the catwalk at Fashion Week.
Who are you, Ralph Lauren himself?
When did the Mannings become fashion icons?
They did not.
Step off, Dad.
Here are Maggie and Perloff.
Well, Aaron Rodgers intends to play for the Jets. That's what we got today, and a whole lot more, Perloff. It's not a done deal. Apparently, there is no wish list, but he does intend to play for the Jets. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Yes or no? There's no other question that even matters today.
Wait, is that the question? I was actually just talking to our buddy Stu Kovacs over here.
Yeah.
What's the expectation here? Now, let's take intent out. Say he's a Jets. Is it Super Bowl win, Super Bowl appearance, or AFC title game?
I think it's Super Bowl appearance. Once you get to the Super Bowl, I think all kind of bets are off.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard assignment in the AFC this year. That's the problem. I understand the streets are. Everybody outside, I didn't even know there were that many Jets fans. All of a sudden, they're coming out of the woodwork in our office saying, "Oh my God, we got Aaron Rodgers."
It's like Field of Dreams, but instead of those players, just Jets fans.
Can I just say one thing? I want to be on the record. He's the best quarterback the Jets have ever had. Well, him and Favre are about the same. But that is not going to be enough, Maggie. There's so much more involved here besides just having a great quarterback. That's why it seems so great today. But isn't there so much more to this?
Well, of course there's more to it, but we've seen guys switch teams, find these sort of sleeping giant teams, and ride this to the Super Bowl. This happened with Brady. Brady, though, is the greatest of all time, so it's a little different with him. But Rodgers is going to be mentioned. Maybe not with Brady, but he's right in the conversation for greatest to play. And you also have to look at Matthew Stafford. I mean, you switch teams, you find a great defense, you have weapons, and you ride to the Super Bowl. Now, you notice both of the teams I mentioned in the NFC. It's going to be harder in the AFC just because of the crazy, gauntlet of quarterbacks that you're going to have to face. Hell, in your own division, it's going to be incredibly hard. You got Josh Allen. If Tua's healthy, that offense hums. You got Belichick as one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest to ever do it. Then let's talk about Mahomes, Burrow, wherever Lamar Jackson ends up. The Steelers are always a factor. Yeah. Herbert is obviously a factor. Trevor Lawrence made the playoffs last year. They could build upon that.
Yep.
I mean, just a lot going on in the AFC, but Rodgers going to the Jets now, you have to put the Jets in the conversation. You must.
So here's the thing. For every Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl and Matthew Stafford, which is a completely different situation than both of these, because that was McVay and a lot going on there, there's a Brett Favre who came to New York and was actually pretty terrible. And
well, they were good before he got hurt.
He threw 22 interceptions in 11 games.
That's Brett Favre, though. That's the Favre experience.
But then Favre came out the next year and played like an MVP. He couldn't wait to get out of there. And again, there are a lot of great quarterbacks who've gone to their next team. And now Russell Wilson, most recently. You could have said Denver was a sleeping giant. Everyone thought that was Aaron Rodgers' sleeping giant. Russell went there, and it was a train wreck. I don't think that's going to happen in New York. But this Brady to the Bucs and Stafford to the Rams, this is not the norm. It's still a bit of the exception. And when you read those AFC teams, I'm leaning towards, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard to replicate Tom Brady to Tampa Bay.
It's going to be hard, but Rodgers motivated, and I think he is motivated. So let's hear a little bit from Rodgers, who was on Pat McAfee. By the way, you can listen to us across the country, CBS Sports Radio. Of course, if you want to watch us, you can go to youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Come on in, say hi, get involved in the chat. Okay, so let's first talk about Rodgers and sort of how this kind of went down, if you will. Manny, let's play cut one. When Rodgers went into the darkness retreat and then came out, and how things were different.
I got back to that little shack they have where there's a one bar of Wi-Fi. I got back to the hundreds of text messages and emails and all different things. I realized that there'd been a little bit of a shift, and that I heard from multiple people that I trust around the league, players mostly, that there was some shopping going on. That they were interested in actually moving me. At this point, I got to admit, I went in the darkness, 90% retiring, 10% playing.
Right. So went into the darkness, 90% retiring, 10% playing. I mean, that's overwhelming. But if you asked any guy a couple weeks after the season ends, I bet a lot of them want to retire because their bodies are so banged up.
Absolutely. This feels like Rodgers has said the same thing. He talked ad nauseum about retirement 2 years in a row, and Brady did. I don't think that 90-10 is such a radical number after a season. It seems like a lot of work to play a football season, and he came out of there.
You're basically in 17 car crashes in a 6-month span.
I don't believe anything he said, by the way. 90-10, get out of here.
Well, I mean, listen, this is what he said. We have to take his word if you choose to. But what he said is that when he went into the darkness retreat, like the last conversation he had with the Packers right after the season ended, they told him, take as much time as you want. The door is always open for you, even though later in the interview, Perloff, he admits he felt there was a change, that they wanted to move on. He even felt that at the end of the season, that they drafted Jordan Love to be his replacement. Had it not been for 2 MVP seasons, he would have been out the door even earlier. So then he tells us that he wants to play for the Jets.
At this point, as I sit here, I think since Friday, I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Okay.
And I haven't been holding anything up at this point. It's been compensation that the Packers are trying to get for me and kind of digging their heels in.
Okay. Well, I mean, the Packers are digging their heels in. The fact that he says in that sentence, Perloff, it's my intention to play for the Jets, puts, no pun intended, the ball squarely in the hands of the New York Jets. The Packers don't have to do diddly squat here. They have their quarterback. It's Jordan Love. They can sit here. They don't even have to technically sign off on this trade until like July or August. I mean, they are sitting pretty here with Rodgers. It's now up to the Jets to push this thing across the goal line.
Do you think, though, that maybe
how many sports metaphors can I use?
Do you think they might have already come up to close to agreement? Do you really think that is there still leverage at play here? Rodgers said this started last Friday.
Have it.
Yeah, I don't know, though, if there really is leverage in the sense that they might have already kind of reached an agreement in principle. Don't you think that they would not have let this ball get down this far the road if they were still really haggling over picks?
Oh, my God. I think so, too. I mean, I thought that this was all a done deal, and it really was Rodgers maybe wanting some of his guys. We saw the Jets sign Alan Lazard, the Packers receiver, former Packers receiver yesterday. Rodgers is... You get the sense he went on McAfee for 2 reasons. One, to thank the Packers and the Packer fans. That was clear. He said it over and over again, how much love he has for Green Bay and the facility and the employees and fans. But 2 was to tell everyone, it's not me that's holding this up. I don't have a wish list. That's BS. And it's all about the Packers are now digging in their heels and trying to extract as much as humanly possible from the Jets. And you saw there was reporting from Adam Schefter and other people that the Packers were hoping for 2 first-round picks. And the reason why, if we can hear cut number 3, is because Rodgers, his stature in the organization makes this difficult.
My plea is, and I would say this is debatable, but I'm debatably the best player in franchise history. I'm in the conversation for sure.
That was awesome.
What's not debatable is I'm the longest tenured Packer in history. Like, you can debate the first part, obviously. Bart, Brett, a number of names have been incredible.
Whoa.
But you can't debate anybody's been there longer than I have. And nobody's bled green and gold like me.
So that's what makes this difficult. He said it's not just like trading any run-of-the-mill guy.
Yeah. Wait, just to go back, do you really think that right now, I just can't, maybe I'm naive. There's no way Aaron Rodgers could go out on a Tuesday and say all this, knowing that the Jets and the Packers are still far apart on terms.
I don't think they're far apart. I think they're probably haggling over something.
Right, it's haggling over something. But that would be such a monstrous mistake by Rodgers to jump the gun and hurt his own team.
Well, I think that's what he's doing, whether he meant to or not. Yeah. I think he wanted people to know, I don't have a wish list. There's no demands. We saw that yesterday. It was going to be Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis and Odell Beckham Jr., according to Diana Rossini. Rodgers said that's not true. He said he does talk glowingly about former teammates when asked about it, but he doesn't have a list.
It's like a wish list. Like, he probably told the team, I wish I could get these guys there, but he wasn't holding them to it.
Right. Like he said, I've made it known since Friday that I intend to play for you. So now you guys figure it out, meaning the Packers and the Jets.
Would that be funny if this I mean, what's the funniest possible scenario that this whole deal falls through, right? It'd be a disaster
Zero.
There's
no chance it's falling through.
But wouldn't that be the just classic Jets?
Well,
The Packers, by the way, do not have all the leverage in the world because they can't take Rodgers back and pay $60 million.
That's true.
That ship left the station.
He would just probably have to retire. Although he did say that there were other teams involved and, kind of talked around it, said it without saying it.
I think there were other teams that were interested, and obviously there's, certain players that I have a lot of love and affinity for. And the reuniting with especially one specific person would have been...
Devontae in Las Vegas. You're talking about Devontae Adams?
Not mentioning any names, but, there's definitely one particular guy who, who him and I have this special kind of unspoken rapport.
Yeah. Stu, I'm sorry. I know. You're a Raider fan. You didn't want Jimmy Garoppolo. Looks like maybe the Raiders were interested. Although the Raiders are all over the map. They might have been interested in Rodgers. They may have been trying to call the Bears to trade up to number 1. Pick a lane, Raiders.
Well, as Mike Florio just posted that he said they were definitely trying to get to number 1. They definitely wanted Rodgers, and they ended up with Jimmy G. And Raiders fans are not happy. Sorry, Stu. Yeah, it's funny. Now all those teams are gone. The Panthers are gone. The Raiders are gone. So now it's just the Jets and the Packers. I just cannot wrap my head around a big divide. Here's the questions that are coming out of it. This year's number 13 pick, is it a first round next year? And where's the money land? That is so tricky, too, because it's a lot of money to split up.
Well, and they're all connected, right?
Yeah.
Because the more money that the Packers pay out of Rodgers' contract, the more draft compensation they're going to expect from the Jets, right? That's how this works. So the more money that the Jets have to pay, the less draft compensation they're going to want to send back. So it's all tied together.
Yeah, it's wild. I actually just put up a poll. I jumped the gun here.
Okay.
What's the proper goal out of this for the Jets? Is it the Super Bowl? Is it making the Super Bowl or getting the AFC title game? And everybody is saying they're not even going to win the division. Why are you so high on them? That's what my Twitter feed said.
I don't understand the negativity towards the Jets stuff today. Like, all right, same old Jets. You can go. They haven't won, since 1969 season, Joe Namath. But, like, why would you be negative today? Who were you going into the season with? Like, Lamar Jackson that's so far down the road now. And speaking about something that doesn't have to happen until July, I mean, Lamar Jackson doesn't have to happen until technically July is like when the deadline is for him to sign the franchise tag.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, don't trust the Jets, and I think a lot of people have problems with Rodgers. A lot of people in the media, especially, because he keeps throwing them under the bus. And he is a bit controversial. You admit, they're not bringing in Tom Brady, who is
the golden
all about
boy.
football.
Right.
Aaron brings a lot to him. I think people are looking at it as a risk, too, because Aaron's coming into a new locker room with young players.
Right.
And I think people are worried. That you watch the McAfee show. He's dramatic.
He definitely gave a history lesson on the Packers today, which was kind of neat. People rolled their eyes, including Manny, who just rolled his eyes.
It's not an overly simple addition. That's all I'm saying. So I feel like it's a big risk and high reward, Super Bowl.
Super high reward.
Super high reward. But I do think that there's a downside to this. I do think that this could go really badly for the Jets.
See, I really don't see it. They might not meet expectations, but unless he really comes out with, like, some weird conspiracy theory stuff, and that rubs people the wrong way. I mean, he's already kind of done that. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. But
I mean, well, the guy's anti-vax. He's now playing for the people who founded Johnson & Johnson.
Right.
But because the world is hilarious,
Right.
Because there was no way. Because the world has a great sense of humor. That's why. But to be honest, I don't see how this goes off the rails. They might not go to the Super Bowl, but I don't see it ending in like a crash and burn. We didn't even know how bad it was with Favre sending the text messages and inappropriate stuff to Jen Sturger until after he was gone.
Yeah. There's, it's a young, talented locker room.
Yeah.
There's a possibility.
They won 7 games last year with nothing at quarterback.
There's a possibility comes in, it doesn't work exactly as they want, and they're looking for a new quarterback in 9 months. That's the risk.
Listen, but is it even a risk? Because unless you thought Derek Carr was like the model of stability, which the guy is, I don't know why the Raiders came out and said he wasn't a culture fit with them. I thought he set the culture, but anyway, that's another story for another time. Or unless you really thought you were going to get Lamar, And Lamar's a way bigger investment money-wise.
No, I totally hear it. But, I just think there's a lot that goes with Aaron Rodgers. That's all I will say. There's just
the McAfee appearances, the New York media, it's all going to be in the stew.
Yeah, and the outside interest in the media, wanted to host Jeopardy. I can't believe he's not hosting his own podcast yet. That would have nothing to do with sports.
That's coming.
The darkness retreats, all this stuff.
But the thing is about like the ayahuasca, the darkness retreats, the stuff that's a little more like, I don't want to be disrespectful, a little more hippity-dippity, like a little bit more out there. It doesn't hurt anybody. He explains it very well about why he does this stuff. It doesn't, it's so just about him. He's not pushing it on anyone else.
But it's not football.
Well, but football maybe needs a little bit of some new life into it because athletes today aren't like they were all those years ago.
Yeah, I mean, all those years ago, 2 years ago when Tom Brady came to Tampa Bay and had practices in his backyard.
Yeah, all those years ago, 5 years ago.
Listen, I'm just saying, Jets and Rodgers, I think high risk, high reward, and it's a very high ceiling, but there's a basement here.
Yeah.
I mean, he can come in. By the way, Joe Douglas could be easy. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, if it doesn't work.
Could be gone.
They could easily be gone.
Yeah. The one thing where you and I are going to disagree, well, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but the one thing about the retirement, 90-10.
That was crap.
Okay, so yes, I agree with you that you ask a guy right after the season ends, they're all going to tell you they want to retire because like their bodies are just decimated, right? However, that's the one thing that might hold me up before I would jump in with 2 feet as a Jets fan. It's like, oh man, he's really thinking this hard about retirement. Like, what am I getting?
We've gone over this before. The quarterbacks who talk about the retirement the most play the longest. That's facts.
Yeah.
It's been proven time and time again. It's just like the guys who talk about how much action they're getting out in the dating scene are probably getting the least amount.
Getting no action, right?
I mean, Favre talked about retirement for the better part of 14 years. It does not matter.
Yeah, a little
Tom Brady,
too much.
Yeah, and Tom Brady, retired last year, came back. Big Ben was talking about retirement from 35 on. Probably should have done it.
Yeah.
But so I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And I don't know, this quarterback who was pretty good last year goes into a darkness retreat ready to retire, comes out of the darkness retreat not ready to retire. Are you surprised I'm a little bit dubious of this whole process, Maggie? It's not normal.
It's not normal. But you know what? Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder, which he said today there's no animosity with Green Bay, that he's got nothing but love, but clearly he felt some kind of way when he came out of the darkness retreat and he's getting text messages like, bro, they're moving on.
Yeah.
So
now they have nothing but love.
Who?
The Packers. See what I did there? Dad joke.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jordan Love is their quarterback.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Manny, don't encourage me.
Manny, no, Manny got it.
Don't do that, Manny.
appreciates
don't submarine the show. We're not even through the first segment. Don't encourage them.
They got nothing but love. That's a pretty good line.
Yeah.
I mean, who's their backup? I don't even know. They probably only have love right now. It's even accurate.
Literally, are you going to go work for like the Green Bay Gazette next?
Probably. I don't know. Did they sign Tim Boyle or somebody? I don't even know who their backup is. I think they got nothing but love.
Sue, is it Sue?
Got Danny Etling as the third stringer right now behind Rodgers and Love.
Danny Etling, out of the former Patriot?
Went to LSU.
Oh, no. I'm thinking Nate Ebner. Danny Etling, yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, Danny Etling was a Patriot. Yeah. They basically got love.
Perloff, who loves backup quarterbacks and loves third-string quarterbacks even more than backup quarterbacks, if he's giving you the you stink.
Danny Etling will not be the second-string quarterback there.
Probably not. Who cares? Honestly. I mean, no offense. Sorry. Should I care who the backup quarterback is for the Packers?
No. It was just, did I execute that joke right? And I think it's pretty good. I think it's right. Manny likes it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Thumbs up. Oh, Stu.
Sorry, Maggie.
E2?
That was solid.
Yeah, it was good.
Crap.
My timing was a little bit off because it took me a second to come up with it. If I'd said it right in the moment, it would have been better.
Dominic in the chat says 39 single darkness retreats. Stay away. I don't think so, man. I mean, yeah, it all comes off a little woo-woo, but if that's the worst thing, that's not so bad.
All right, let's take a break because I want to read some tweets, man.
Okay,
I want to show you something negative. I'm with you, by the way. I'm closer to you. I think the team is good, and he's an amazing quarterback. But can't you see the darkness creeping in, possibly?
Is this another pun? If you think, how are the Jets going to do?
Yeah.
Is this Super Bowl is this high bust potential? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. If you want to join us, the Weedos and the Purple Drinkers in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where you can go. You can listen to us, of course, on all of our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates. We're also streaming on the free Odyssey app, and we're on SiriusXM, channel 158. Come on in, get comfortable. Gonna be a great show. We want to hear from you. Super Bowl or bust? Let us know.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. So I put out a brilliant tweet with a poll.
Self-proclaimed brilliant tweet.
No, there's more to this. What's the proper goal for the Jets? Is it at Andrew Perloff, Super Bowl win, Super Bowl appearance, or AFC title game? To which Maggie Gray replied, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I said the choices were Super Bowl win or Super Bowl appearance. You're going right down the middle.
Sorry.
That doesn't help answer.
I'm not the genius. You're the genius.
Super Bowl. So
I meant appearance.
I was so confused by your response. I did not know what to make of that.
Hold on. You need to put another option on the poll.
Wait, not getting enough. I know.
Yeah.
I was overly optimistic.
You need a crash and burn option.
But the question was goal. What's a realistic goal?
Oh, the goal. Right.
Which informs what they do the rest of the week because they got to bring in, this is a 1 or 2 year window. They got to bring in some big time free agents if they can or somebody get a little age on that team. That's what I would do.
Well, you brought in Lazard.
Yeah. Some linemen, a little more lineman depth.
I don't think the line, I mean, you got some high draft picks who are on your line. Becton keeps, Mekhi Becton, their left tackle for the Jets, keeps tweeting out every day a picture of himself in the mirror of a bathroom in like a gym somewhere or something. But it's not doing, I think, what he hoped it would do.
No, I think he looks pretty good.
No, he does look good, but it's not like, wow. Anyway.
Okay. I said a couple negative tweets out there in the media on Rodgers. There are some people who think Rodgers brings too much to the situation.
Okay.
Mike Freeman, a friend, USA Today, longtime football writer. I think Rodgers is going to burn that Jets locker room down to the ground.
I mean,
that's
really?
That's the risk. And then here's Jason La Canfora, CBS. 9 months from now, the Jets will be looking for another QB. We'll win just enough games in the interim to have to give up the farm in draft position on top 3 QB in 2024. I feel for their fans. Always false hope at the most important position in all of sports. Now, that part is true. The last line is true.
Yes.
The Jets have had a lot of false hope.
They have.
That's a risk. And I don't necessarily agree. You made a good point last second. What did the Jets have to lose? Because they were really nowhere at the quarterback spot anyway.
Oh my gosh, Zach Wilson cannot play the position. I mean, that's what the team, they whiffed so badly on the second overall pick. They told him basically, go to a beach somewhere. Like, we don't even want to see you at the facility, which our pal Ryan Leaf said that's the exact opposite advice he needs. If he's ever going to make something of his career, he's got to dive into the playbook, get recommitted to football, not be on a beach reading a book somewhere. That's such a mess. So they clearly didn't want Carr because they were holding out for Rodgers. The Lamar Jackson thing, is who knows what's going to happen with Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens could have matched any offer they made anyway. That was a long shot.
Not a sure thing.
Long shot.
This gives you a little bit of hope. Sure, has it gone poorly in the past with the Jets?
Yeah.
Of course it has, but all it takes is one magical season.
Yeah, the Rams. One magical season, and then they're fading away.
Yeah, but you know what? I bet a Rams fan, if there's any of them, would say that was worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Jets would kill for that. I think the Jets would be happy to win one Super Bowl. They'd go away happily for 8 years. That's what happened with my Eagles. I'm going to go we.
Yeah,
winning that Super Bowl in 2017 season takes all the pressure off. And honestly, I wanted to beat the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl, but it wasn't do or die. And I'm not making fun of the Bills here because there's just so much pressure to get that first one. It's worth the risk.
Tell me about it. But Tom Brady in the division for 20 bleeping years. And now here comes Aaron Rodgers.
And
can Joe Montana come out of retirement to play for the Dolphins or something? Is every great quarterback?
I don't know, because I'm still scared of those Dolphins, even with Tua, if I'm you. Yeah, the funny thing, it's very funny.
Dolphins almost beat the Bills with Skylar Thompson in a playoff game in January in Buffalo.
I know. What if they're really bad, like Russell Wilson was in Denver, and they give up a top 5 pick, and next year's draft is what we think it is? I mean,
they're not going to give up that much because the money's too big. I don't think
you
that
don't
it's
think they'll
going to
have
be
to give up
crazy.
next year's one.
When all said and done, no.
Okay, well, that'd be nice because I would hate for it to be Russell Wilson, and the only reason I bring up Russell Wilson is because Nathaniel Hackett was in Denver. So, another reason to be a slight bit dubious.
And by the way, that was the only time it actually got testy a little bit with McAfee.
Well, no, two things.
Two things got testy, but I've never heard him push back on Pat. Like, McAfee was trying to make fun of Nathaniel Hackett because he's like, well, he was in Denver and he sucked. And, now they only hired him to try to lure you. And, like, Rodgers' face changed. He got very upset about that.
I thought you meant...
we have a little of that.
Yeah.
It's not the same one. Okay, never mind.
But he also got a little testy towards the media members that had leaked things as well. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Oh, that we do have.
Not at Pat. He wasn't testy at Pat. He was just testy in general about Schefter and co.
Yes, that was rather funny. Here is Rodgers talking about the insiders in the NFL.
Ask Schefter would I text him when he somehow got my number and texted me. I didn't respond to Diana Rossini, I think her name is. But, I would say the same thing that I told Shefty. Lose my number. Ooh. Nice try.
And then Schefter, to his credit, everyone taking this with a nice wink and a nod, Schefter tweeted out the text exchange with Rodgers saying, lose my number.
I actually gained respect for Adam Schefter that he took a shot there. They took a swing. He knew Aaron Rodgers didn't want to talk to him, and he got his number and texted him.
You got to text him.
Yeah.
You get Aaron Rodgers' number, it's this time of the year, you got to text him.
But
it's journalists doing their job.
Right. Well, I'm glad Schefter was being a journalist doing his job.
Yeah, sometimes he is not a journalist.
Well, because he got burned on his accumulation of information report with Aaron Rodgers. So this is bad. I think he learned from that. I don't know Diana Rossini's name. We've all pulled that trick. Oh,
he definitely knows Diana.
Yeah, that's like saying,
great.
"Oh, what's your boyfriend's name? Is it Todd or is it Tom?" He knew Diana. He was just upset.
It's Bill.
He was upset that they scooped him or put out things that he didn't want. And I still believe Diana's report was not proven inaccurate. She said he had a wish list, and he basically confirmed it. It's just what that meant exactly was up for debate.
Well, I think it's probably, yes, I think that's how someone says it versus how the person receives it. And if you're married or in a relationship, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because how you say something and how the other person receives it, not always the same. So Rodgers might have said, hey, Alan Lazard is the best, and I think that he and I would be great together. And someone could have received that as he needs Alan Lazard.
Yeah,
so,
and he got him.
and it doesn't matter because he got him. Let's go to the phones, 855-212-4CBS. Trey is in Wyoming and a big Packer fan. What's up, Trey?
Hey, team, long-time caller. Sorry, long-time listener, first-time caller. Shout out to the chat here. There we go. I think it was really important for Rodgers to go on and kind of clear the air from, holding not only kind of the Packers fans and previous teammates, but for his future teammates and kind of the New York media as well, to really kind of clear the air that way and say, hey, this is not me. And I think that's going to speak volumes for his locker room leadership ability. Outside of, I think, Jermichael Finley and Greg Jennings, I would be hard-pressed to find a former teammate that has bad things to say about Rodgers.
Yep. Trey, it's a great point. Thank you for making it. See you in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. The Weedos and the Purple Drinkers in full effect today, as they are every day. I think he's right. There are like two guys who very publicly have like axes to grind with Aaron Rodgers, but he even talked about this rather eloquently, which is we talk about having respect for older players at the end of their careers, and look at me, now I'm that guy who's talking about, hey, let's just try to do this the right way, leave no animosity so that I can come back when you retire my number and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was happy that it went that way. There was this report that players were getting frustrated in Green Bay at Aaron Rodgers being in limbo. I could get that.
The Jets.
Yeah.
New teammates.
Oh, that was the Jets who were upset. I was just thinking about Aaron Jones has been doing a lot of press. He did Good Morning Football last week. He didn't seem to be crying. I think they had resigned themselves. I don't think the Packers players, I agree, they all like him. I don't sense that they're upset about this. I think the indecision has been weighing on them.
Rodgers even said this detail today, that when he walked off the field with Randall Cobb after the Lions beat them and they were not going to the postseason, that was intentional. Like, he thought he was walking off the field for the last time and wanted it to be with Randall Cobb. I mean, the locker room must have had a sense. Listen, he was like an eyelash away. He was a Dallas Cowboys comeback on the Dallas Cowboys away from possibly being benched for Jordan Love during the season.
Absolutely. And Jordan Love has a lot of practice rep with these young guys who are now playing. So, and we'll get into Green Bay later, but man, that's a young team. Jordan Love throwing to Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs.
Because they're in the NFC, who's more likely to go to the playoffs next year? Is it the Packers or the Jets?
No. Is that you might be onto something.
Listen,
I mean, it's got to be the Jets. They have Aaron Rodgers, right?
Of course, but I'm just looking at the AFC.
I know. I don't know.
I mean, the NFC, you're making the playoff. I mean,
so who is in that division? Or
who cares about the regular season? You're just walking right in.
You got to finish that division for me with Detroit. I got to know what Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota do this offseason.
What if Detroit has Lamar?
Well, definitely Detroit. And it might be definitely Detroit right now. I mean, the Packers are probably the fourth team in that division because Justin Fields, they're loading up around.
I know.
So I think I'm going to say the Jets are more likely, but you do bring up a great point. This darn AFC.
I know.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to say you are showing a lot of restraint as a Bills fan. It's
not about me today.
I saw a little during McAfee, a small tear start to roll down.
Solitary tear.
I saw you. I say, darn, they beat us this year, and they didn't even have Aaron Rodgers. What's going to happen next year?
Yeah.
Hey, you got Jordan Poyer back in Buffalo.
Hey.
There you go.
There you go. Signed somebody from the Saints, return guy.
Oh, who is that guy? I saw that name.
I don't know. Apparently, he had a big year in 2019. So, really expecting big things in 2023.
Whatever. You didn't just cut an all-time possible Hall of Fame quarterback like my Philadelphia Eagles. This is disaster show for our teams.
Wait,
Darius Slay is getting cut today.
Oh, for a second, I thought you said quarterback.
Me too.
Like, what?
I was like, what did I miss?
Gardner Minshew? Is this a Minshew joke?
I'm sorry. If it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers and all these other stories, Darius Slay getting cut would be a story.
It would not be a story. Trey, congrats. Everyone in the chat thought you did a great job on the call. You should call us more often. All right. We've got a lot more to get to today. We do have some Cowboys news for you. We have to get to that. We are going to talk NCAA tournament today. We'll get to that. Perloff has an Against the Grain today. We'll get to that. So much to do. We hit it all after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
Well, Joe Montana left San Francisco. Tom Brady left New England. Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. The former MVP said on the Pat McAfee show that he intends to play next year and play for the Jets. That was known on Friday. Now the two teams need to work out a deal, but Rodgers said he loved the Packers organization. However, following the season, he had an inkling his time was over in Green Bay.
Extremely excited and couldn't be happier for.
And that's not Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately. The Patriots have reportedly come to terms with Juju Smith-Schuster on a 3-year deal worth $33 million, while Baker Mayfield is a new home, reportedly coming to terms with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a 1-year deal. The Bucs also reportedly re-signing Levante David, and the Cowboys are going to release Ezekiel Elliott, who has been in decline since signing his extension in 2019. John Moran has been suspended 8 games by the NBA for conduct detrimental to the league. The NCAA tournament began last night with 2 games, 2 more coming up tonight. The 2 16 seeds are up first. Fairleigh Dickinson meeting Texas Southern, followed by Arizona State and Nevada. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Ask the Pros, where you can ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply check out the link, cbssportsradio.com/askthepros, or tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
So we have some draft tidbits, some possible news here.
Yeah.
It's Georgia's pro day. Georgia once again sending a bunch of guys to the pros. Amazing that they were able to repeat as champions, considering they lost so many guys to the NFL. So Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle, at one time was supposed to be the number 1 pick.
Right.
When I say supposed to be, a lot of mock drafts had him there. If you don't know who he is, if you remember, didn't he pick up Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, and hold him like a baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
like a child. Yeah,
yes.
Picked him up.
Yes, that was the noteworthy move of Jalen Carter's career. So he went to the combine and got weighed, but he didn't really do much working out. Everyone expected him to run at this pro day today. What happened was...
Well, you yada-yada'd over a little bit there.
Oh. Yeah, right. Jalen Carter was... we found out later, was involved in a fatal car crash. Yeah. The night of the parade after the national championship in January.
Yep.
So, and how many people died?
2.
2 people died. Yeah. He was okay. He reportedly lied to the police about his role in it.
Yeah, he was charged, and then he was ultimately had to go back to Georgia, paid a bond, and then released.
Left the combine and came back to the combine. So he showed up at his pro day today, 9 pounds heavier than the combine, which was not that long ago.
No.
That's a bad sign to start.
February, like the middle of February?
That's the end of February.
Yeah, I guess it's like the third week of February.
Right, because February 13th was the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I think
yes,
it was
I'm sorry. What am I doing?
First day of March. So he already put on 9 pounds, which we can all relate to.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to the report from Pete Thamel, he did not finish his drills. He did not run the 40, but he was doing positional drills. And for some reason, he did not finish it. I'll get more on that.
They said he was cramping and he was out of breath.
Yes, this is bad.
That's not good. Now, listen, the guy is obviously under immense stress now because of what was revealed about him being there at the scene of the accident, right, in Georgia. So you imagine he's under immense stress. But honestly, I haven't heard of a pro day going this poorly since Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater had an all-time bad pro day. He ended up still sneaking into the first round, last pick of the first round by the Vikings. And, considering the leg injury that Teddy Bridgewater had, he's put together a nice career.
Oh, yeah.
But pro days are, scripted so that they go well. You rarely, if ever, hear of them going bad.
Right. No, the pro days are supposed to be good. You do run the 40 at the pro days, and they always give you a higher grade at the pro day.
Definitely.
So no one really takes so seriously. But, Jalen Carter, I think he's falling into the teens here.
Wow.
Honestly, I think a team might get a great deal. Sometimes this works out for the best. I'm thinking of Warren Sapp. Allegedly failed a drug test, fell to the teens, and was a Hall of Fame player. Randy Moss failed multiple drug tests, fell to 18, was a Hall of Fame player. So certain teams look for this.
Right.
Bill Belichick famously would draft.
Well, Aaron Hernandez, who
he would
had
look for
issues.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, Aaron Hernandez has already killed somebody. Yeah. I don't think Belichick knew that. But there could be draft value here. I'm a little confused by one thing.
But is there value if he looks this bad at his pro day?
Yeah, I mean, guys who fall for character often hit it big. Yep. That's just the reality because you get them into your building, you coach them up. Those are professionals with big paychecks. Guys get older. I do think you could turn things around. Listen, drag racing is terrible what happened with Jalen Carter, but lots of athletes drag race and drive really fast.
Unfortunately, though, the results of this were devastating.
Regardless, though, I mean, there's a lot of guys who drive well over 100 miles an hour and get caught. So I think he could turn it around. I absolutely do. I think you get into a building, realize you're a professional, find a mentor, older players. We were stupid when we were 18, 19, and 20. I'm not saying that our stupidity did not end in a fatality.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about Jalen Carter. Why are defensive tackles? He would have been the first defensive tackle in 25 years to be number 1. I didn't even understand that.
Why he was getting so much love?
Can a defensive tackle, even a 330-pound defensive tackle, I'm not sure it has that much value to draft him that high with all these red flags.
Well,
he's not a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not a cornerback or a pass rusher. So I think teams are going to weigh that. If he was a defensive end with all these red flags, he'd go number 4.
Yeah, it's funny because at some point, what does it matter? First, fourth, sixth. Like, this is kind of what the Atlanta Falcons did with Kyle Pitts. It's like, all right, well, he's a tight end. Well, nobody can take a tight end fourth. It's like, well, but if you think he's the next Travis Kelce, then who cares if you take him fourth? Like, sometimes that's going down. Well, that hasn't worked out well for him. I get it, but they don't have a good quarterback either to get him the ball. Like, I sometimes think that this positional stuff, like Aaron Donald, there's no way you could have taken Aaron Donald number 1 overall because he was an interior defensive lineman and he was undersized. Yeah. Now he could go down as the greatest defensive player in the history of the league, along with like Lawrence Taylor and, like Reggie White.
Absolutely. You're right, but if you're, maybe I'm thinking he's a fan. If it's draft night and your team, you're waiting all spring in the site, and with the number 8 pick, the Eagles select a defensive tackle. You're like, ugh. He doesn't get sacks. He's not going to get interceptions.
Stuffer,
Yeah, that's the thing about Jalen Carter. He's a run stuffer.
You got to stop the run, Perloff. You know that.
You know the real value. There's only 2 things that matter in this league: is be able to play quarterback and be able to tackle the quarterback, and maybe cornerback if you're Darrelle Revis. Yeah. I don't know.
That's it. Only Revis.
I think he falls because teams don't value him that much.
Well, I mean, that could be it. Definitely. But if he's got like the overall skill set, then honestly, like if he's in the top 10, what does it matter? 1, 5, like the contract stuff's still going to be the same too. You know, basically, you're going to owe him a ton of guaranteed money up front, and the 5th-year option's slated to be a certain amount. So
I think there's a big difference between 5 and 16, though.
Yeah, Daniel Harrison in the chat saying the Eagles have shown how valuable good defensive tackles are.
Dude, they screwed up. Jordan Davis did not hit last year.
But they look better when he was healthy than when he was out.
There's a lot of nerves about Jordan Davis in Philly. They were
so young.
They drafted, but they thought that they had a ready-to-go player. Then they had to sign 2 more players at his position. It wasn't good. I was thinking, by the way, one guy, if you could rush the passer, you could do. Aldon Smith had so many red flags coming out of college, and I think he went number 7. I'm double-checking this. Yeah, if you can rush the passer, they do not care.
Well, I mean, if we want to be really cynical about it, do they ever care? I mean, they claim to, but
another to back your case
and all the way. Also, does anybody in any walk of life, like if you can produce, people will look the other way.
You know who would have supported your argument about position being overrated when it comes to Micah Parsons? He was an interior linebacker at Penn State, fell to number 12. If they knew he could rush the passer, he would have been number 1. Easily.
And that's why it's silly. You got to do it guy by guy.
I don't know. I think you have to you have to be analytic about it and look at past history.
Listen, I understand. Like no one's taking a safety number 1 overall or something like that.
Safety. You're not, but you don't draft a running back.
I do not draft running backs.
Yeah.
Not in the first round.
I go in. I'm a draft a quarterback guy all day long.
I do love our guy Bijan Robinson. Like I love him.
I know. Doesn't he make
his skill set is just awesome.
Doesn't he make you want to just throw out everything you believe about drafting running backs?
Yes, he does. But because I can also play him in the slot. That's how good he is as a receiver.
I'm a big draft quarterbacks again and again and again. You might as well use your first round pick on a quarterback, which I think we're going to hit later in the show because there are a lot of teams this year. Vegas just signed Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think they're still going quarterback.
You think they will or should?
Should and will.
Okay.
I mean, it depends how the board plays out, but because I think we can assume now it's quarterbacks 1, 2 off the board at the very least. The Panthers aren't going to trade all the way up for, a non-QB.
Definitely.
Houston needs a quarterback. You've got Arizona sitting there at 3. Does someone trade out with them? And then you've obviously got the Indianapolis Colts at 4. Like, I don't know if the Raiders at 7 are going to be able to get one of the top.
Right, and they probably wouldn't trade up for one.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but they also, because they had to give some draft capital also to Green Bay, right, for the Devontae Adams.
Yeah, actually,
I don't know. They have 11 draft picks this year. The Raiders do.
Yeah, but to go from 7 to 3 will be tough. You have Jimmy G. You're not sold on Jimmy G.
Listen, welcome to the AFC.
You tell it to those baby blue eyes that you don't believe in it.
I don't care about that, but it's like, welcome to the AFC.
I do. Jimmy G's, that's 90% of the appeal of Jimmy G. He gets in the locker room and everyone's like, I'm going to follow that man because he's good looking.
We figured out the secret. Big show announcement coming up at the top of the hour. Also, Perloff goes against the grain. A lot to do today. The big Aaron Rodgers news. He intends to play for the New York Jets. We unpack that every single angle that happens next as well. It's a stack show. Glad to have you on Maggie and Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Anytime the word 13 and seconds is used in the same paragraph, Maggie gets very angry.
Kicker's missing 46-yarders. It happens. Gets a
is that Scott Norwood? Can I ask a Bills question? Sure. Would you rather lose a Norwood missed field goal or lose 52-17 to the Cowboys? Which is the preferable way to go down?
Thank you.
I'm genuinely curious.
I'm sure you are genuinely curious.
Because I remember when my Eagles played
for a decade, and you waited till right now to ask me that question.
Well, I just thinking back to the Eagles page, I didn't get to experience that, so I want to know what it's like as a fan.
I mean, Eagles Patriots the first time. What's it like when your quarterback pukes in the huddle? What is that like? Perloff got me better.
No, I know, but he still stopped me in my tracks. Trying to come back. I'm about to cry.
Here are Maggie and Perloff.
What a day. Aaron Rodgers says he intends to play for the New York Jets. He said it on the Pat McAfee show. Now, Perloff, all they have to do is figure out the compensation. He said that the Packers are, quote, dug in on compensation. And why wouldn't they be? They have all the leverage in the world. They are just now waiting for the Jets to give them the kitchen sink. And once that happens, I'm sure we can all move on with our lives. And Rodgers can pick a number and pick a house and pick whatever he wants in New York City.
Wow, that kitchen sink is scary. Because you don't think they're going to get the Matthew Stafford 2 first-round pick deal?
We're not swimming in those waters, I don't think. I don't think that we're swimming in those waters. But right now, especially after Rodgers comes out and says, I intend to play for the Jets, well, now it's on the Jets to get this done. The Packers don't have to do anything. Jordan Love's on the roster. They have a quarterback. They can hold this thing. They can go till after the draft if they need to. It's the Jets who have to make sure this gets done soon.
I would think so. Although, obviously, the Packers, their worst-case scenario is have Aaron walk back in and say, I'm back.
I'm back, baby.
Does that say anything to you that the Packers were eager to move on with him?
Does it say anything to me?
Does it say that, you know what, there's a lot that comes with Aaron Rodgers? You could make that argument because if he was Mr. I'm going to be team guy, I'm not going to be about myself, maybe Green Bay would have made sure he got back. Because he's not those things. That doesn't mean he can't be great in New York, but he brings a lot of extra things.
Listen, I think he asked for stuff, right? He wants his guys taken care of, right? The Randall Cobbs and the Mercedes Lewises, and this stuff is important to him.
Well, he wanted Green Bay to be patient with him as he made his decision, and they just said, I'm no longer going to be patient with you.
Well, and he said that on McAfee, too, which was Green Bay told him before he went into the darkness retreat that take your time. Doors always open for you. And then when he got out of the darkness retreat 5 days later, the tune had changed. And obviously they had sort of made it known around the league that they were moving on. Now, he said himself, when he walked off the field after the Lions beat the Packers in the season finale, he felt like that was the last time he was going to walk off the field.
Yeah.
As a Packers quarterback, said he was 90-10, retired to playing again next season. When he went into the darkness retreat, came out, says he wants to rededicate himself to football, and now he's going to do that in a Jets uniform.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Yes, there is.
I think that he's going to be good. I think the receivers are good. I think the team is going to be good. But I don't know if it's going to be good enough because they have the third hardest schedule in the entire NFL.
I believe
they have not just that division, the AFC East, which is brutal. They got the Eagles on the schedule. They got the Chiefs on the schedule. They got the Cowboys, who I'm going to tell you right now are going to be really good. So they drew the short end of the stick. I think they have the hardest schedule in their division, which makes no sense because they didn't win the division last year. That's in part because they faced the Bills. But it's going to be tough. I mean, it's not just the division. It's the conference. And then you have a couple extra losses, so they'll probably have to go on the road in the playoffs. I think it's Super Bowl is the goal here. I think it's going to be really, really hard. Listen, in this situation.
It is going to be hard, but the Super Bowl has to be the goal. Rodgers is 39. Yeah. You're not doing this because you think you've got 5 years here to mess around with, unless he's Tom Brady, which I don't think he is. You've got 1 or 2 years max. I'm not saying if it doesn't work, it's a total failure, but you're not in this to make the wild card and go out in the first round against Jacksonville. That's not what this is about.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's got to be about more than that. Now, as far as that wish list that was reported yesterday by Diana Rossini, and some others had it too, about, what, like who Rodgers wanted to come to play with him. Rodgers said that's not true.
From what I've seen, it's like I had a sheet of paper when I met with the Jets, and I said, sign these people. And that's not the reality. That's so ridiculous.
All right, that sounds good.
It's so stupid. Did they ask me about certain guys that I played with over years? Of course. Did I talk glowingly about teammates that I love? Yeah. Do I love those guys on the list? Of course.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry. Did you love those guys on the list? Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, of course he did. So people know it wasn't a list. They didn't hand him a sheet of paper. But all you need to know is that the Jets signed Allen Lazard yesterday, and they gave him, $25 million guaranteed? So they obviously were paying attention. Jeffrey Howell in the chat, by the way, if you'd like to follow along with the show in video form, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. You can listen to us, of course, on all of our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates. But Jeffrey Howell says Aaron Rodgers will be living in a yurt in the Village.
Oh, yeah.
A yurt's going to run you like $13,000 a month in rent.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep the mice out of the yurt, too.
That'd be really tough.
That's a
mouse-infested yurt.
Yeah, which actually sounds, par for the course for Aaron Rodgers, a mouse-infested yurt. He's a very naturalistic guy.
Yeah.
You live out there in New Jersey.
I do.
Can he recreate the California hippie stuff that, as he called it, hippie stuff that he does?
Oh, yeah. I bet he'll have tons of land. You could build a yurt village, like a yurt, not a yurt in the village, as Jeffrey was saying.
Can you find plant-based medications and supplies out there?
I haven't looked. But they did legalize marijuana in New Jersey.
It doesn't seem like, of all the plant-based things, he's never talked about marijuana. He's talked about everything else.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if he was doing the ayahuasca in the United States. I thought he went to Peru to do it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Could be.
He has all the room he's going to need to spread out and do all the things. A teepee, a tent, whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's 39. He's going to turn 40 this season.
Yeah.
He's not going to be tempted by the siren call of the meatpacking district and the clubs of New York. He's fine with that. I think he's a pro in that sense. I have no worries about New York being too big for him and getting distracted or any of that.
No, honestly, a lot of guys like to spend some time in New York in their careers because you can make so many contacts in the media here.
Sure. Not
that you can't do that in Southern California. You can obviously do it there, too. There's plenty of networks who are based out of Southern California, but it's just such a concentrated thing. You want to meet the heads of all the major networks, all the major podcasts. He doesn't need New York for that. He's Aaron Rodgers.
He would have any TV deal he wants coming out of this, but he wants to go the Joe Rogan podcast route.
Right.
New York's a great place for that. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's developing his business.
It's not a bad idea.
Brady's here a lot. Tom Brady's in New York.
Well, because his kid lives here, too.
Oh, is that why? Yeah, but he has a lot of business. Kevin Durant has a lot of business here, even though he's not playing here anymore.
No, it's attractive for guys on the business sense. But again, anything you can get in New York, you can get in L.A. So
right. Well, I think Rodgers would have loved to play in L.A., but that was not an option.
No, I think those seats are taken for now. But
the Rams are sort of. I never heard the Rams and Rodgers because
they don't have the picks.
They don't have the picks, and they sort of have they have their own Stafford problem. They don't need to add a Rodgers problem.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, it's funny. The Jets. We're talking about what's the proper goal. San Francisco had signed Rodgers. They'd be the #1 favorite to win the Super Bowl. In fact, I think a lot of NFC teams could have added Rodgers and become Super Bowl favorites.
I don't think it's an accident that he's not on an NFC team.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, we don't know who called. He said teams inquired. He intimated that the Raiders, he would have liked to have, reunited with Devontae Adams. But I don't think NFC teams had a prayer here. I think the Packers we don't want you to haunt us now. It's hard enough to break up with the face of the franchise. You don't want to get haunted.
Though, I do think there's this trend in sports where teams don't care about rivalries anymore and they trade within divisions. So if they had gone to the Panthers, is there really Green Bay's timeline? Is Green Bay rebuilding? Are they saying to the world, we don't need to win right now, we're going to take some time here? Or do they expect to be right back?
I think they expect to be right in the mix. Why wouldn't you in the NFC for a wild card or maybe even the division there? Who's winning the NFC North?
Well, Detroit.
Or Minnesota.
Or Chicago.
It's wide
not
open.
Green Bay.
Maybe not, but.
Yeah, they have a very young team. It's extremely young. They have all these overpaid, bad defensive picks, whatever. It's going to be tough.
All right, let's waste no time. Let's get to Perloff's Against the Grain.
Against the Grain.
So I forgot to wish you Happy New Year. It is a new fiscal year starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 minutes ago in the NFL.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
We're saying Happy New Year for the fiscal year? You mean the league year?
Happy New League Year,
Yeah,
right? It's not the fiscal
Happy
year.
New League Year, guys.
Right?
Oh, Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah. Manny's wearing a Giants hat. So it's officially on. The tampering period, which is now the full-on signing period, is over.
No, the tampering period is the combine.
Yeah, the tampering period is
the Senior Bowl.
The tampering period is week 16 of last year.
Yes.
So teams can now talk to Lamar Jackson. There is a thought out there that they really couldn't talk to him because he didn't have an agent. So you couldn't really legally tamper with him because he's under contract to the Ravens, as far as I can tell. I don't know the rules on this. Yeah. So basically, Lamar Jackson couldn't even talk to teams. He could just put out cryptic tweets. Yeah. Now they can talk to him. I think I found a home for him, Maggie.
Wow, you're going to save everybody a lot of time and energy.
Yes, I do not think that he should go back to Baltimore.
Okay.
I'm going to give you, there's two teams I came down to that I liked, and there's one that I like even more.
Okay, well, this is an Against the Grain segment for a reason, so this means you're going against something.
Yes, I'm saying ignore the draft. I love drafting young quarterbacks. So do you.
Yeah.
Because you get that 5-year window and you go to the Super Bowl. But they're saying it.
Just like that.
The team I'm choosing, the Indianapolis Colts.
Ow.
They've cleared so much cap space the last couple of days. They're doing something. Everyone thinks they're doing something, but nobody knows what. Or they're just clearing cap space. But they have room for Lamar Jackson.
They pick fourth in the draft, you know.
Yes, they pick fourth in the draft. Now, that is probably a plus in this situation because the other team that I like is Tennessee, sits at 11 in the draft. The fourth pick in the draft is enough of a temptation for Baltimore to not match the offer. If Baltimore, basically, it's going to work like a trade. Baltimore is going to say, hey, if you're picking number 18 and you sign Lamar Jackson to a tender offer, whatever that means, I don't even know it. I use the word tender all the time.
No clue.
Baltimore's definitely matching it. But if they see that Indianapolis goes in at number 4, Baltimore's like, okay, we'll take the 2 first. We're going to draft a quarterback at number 4. This all works out for everybody. It works out like a trade. Now, let's look at Indianapolis. I think Lamar Jackson would be a great fit there in the sense that Sam Ehlinger is their quarterback right now, Maggie.
They cut Matt Ryan yesterday.
They have way too many all-pro level players. Believe it or not, as bad as they were last year, their roster is loaded with guys. Remember, they were churning out all-pros and winning 10 games at every position except quarterback. So you have, look at the talent around them. Jonathan Taylor, back and healthy, great running back. 2021, probably the best running back in the league. Michael Pittman Jr., I think you could argue, is the number 1 receiver. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati was great last year with no one throwing to him. So you have some targets. You have Shane Steichen, who's an offensive coach. You have a Hall of Fame.
Coach Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, you have a Hall of Fame left guard in Quentin Nelson. You're probably going to get rid of your Pro Bowl center, Ryan Kelly, but you have a good offensive line, which is great. And then you have studs on defense who were hurt last year, and are coming back. Kwity Paye is awesome, and Shaq Leonard, formerly Darius Leonard, is awesome. You have enough talent around that to make it an elite defense again. Last year was a blip. It was a mess. They were over with Frank Reich. They brought in Jeff Saturday. That did not work. Disaster. But remember, they had a very talented team with inconsistent quarterback play. A lot of that team is still there. Lamar Jackson indoors at Indy in the AFC South, one of the bottom 5 strength of schedules in the league. They don't play anybody. He would go right to the playoffs in that division. And if you're Jim Irsay, aren't you tired? Everyone says, get off the quarterback carousel. This will get you off for 5 years. It's going to cost you $230 million. I think this is the place to jump in.
Wow. What an against the grain. You're so a draft a quarterback guy. See,
I love drafting a quarterback. To get all that money, it's great.
Okay. How about this, though? A team that has successfully executed a suck for luck. They have executed the organizational tank in the past to get another franchise quarterback. Why wouldn't they just go with something they know?
Because
why not do the organizational tank for next year? That's why they're clearing cap space. I think they might just be trying to clear out. I mean, they have a decent roster. You're right about that. But why not just try to really bottom this thing out and get Caleb Williams or Drake May next year?
They used to be. They did suck for luck, but then they started signing old quarterbacks year after year. apparently Irsay is getting impatient. I don't know if he has the patience to do that.
Irsay's like the wind, man. Who knows? He could be impatient one day, and then I can sell him on a tank the next day.
Do you realize how hard it is going to be to tank in the AFC South? Jacksonville would be good. But Tennessee, if they trade Derrick Henry and they cut Ryan Tannehill, they might be tanking. And Houston, they're drafting a quarterback at number 2 probably. They'll probably be playing him, or my guy Case Keenum. They're very young too. It's not going to be easy to tank out of the AFC South and the NFC South.
It's going to be hard, but if you commit and you really commit to doing it, you get guys that go on IR. You tell the coach, listen, you're safe. It's not going to be a one and done situation.
Okay.
This will all work out in the end.
If Lamar Jackson did go there.
It'd be amazing. They'd be really good.
They'd be an 11-6 team at least, because assuming Lamar could stay healthy, I think you could have 2 playoff teams. And by the way, I just laughed because we were talking about how, as a Bills fan, you're frustrated with Aaron Rodgers.
Coming in the division.
What if Lamar Jackson goes to a really good team, and then you have another potential playoff team?
I'm telling you, you're going to need 12 wins to get in the playoffs this year if you're in the AFC.
One more factor about this. The number 4 pick. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Is there going to be one of the top 3 quarterbacks there? So 1, Chicago, traded up from number 9. I'm sorry, number 1, Carolina, traded with Chicago. There you go, quarterback. Number 2, Houston, quarterback. Number 3, is someone going to jump up there? And if you're in Indianapolis, you're not going to get your guy.
Well, if I'm Arizona, first of all, I could trade up with Arizona if I wanted to.
You could.
You could.
Costly.
It's going to be costly, but if I really love somebody like Anthony Richardson or whoever I think is going to be there, Will Levis, or I can, I mean, if I'm Arizona, I'm trying to get out of that pick.
Number 4 is not going to get you that quarterback.
You think they're going 1, 2, 3?
It's going 1, 2, 3.
Or 1, 2, 3 at
You get
minimum.
the 4th quarterback in this year's draft, or you get Lamar Jackson.
Listen, I mean, it worked out for the Chargers. They got the 3rd quarterback in their draft, and it was like, it's Justin Herbert. Like, hey, that worked out really well. You Burrow go 1, you had Tua, and then you get Herbert off the board.
That is you're selectively picking one situation that worked out.
Just saying. I would rather start over. I mean, listen.
I hear you.
The thing about Lamar is, at least you have like a sure thing. You have someone exciting. You have an identity. You have, I like your point about Shane Steichen, who was the one who basically turned the Eagles, not this past year, the year before, into a running team, taking advantage of Jalen Hurts, and it turned the whole season around, and the Eagles made the playoffs. That's what put him on people's radar for being a head coach.
He basically listened to fans on Twitter who said, run the ball. No, I mean, actually, I thought you were going to counter me. I think you're excited about this possibility. Tennessee with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson would also be really interesting. That'd be fun. I don't know how great they'd be, but they would be fun to watch.
And how many more years is Derrick Henry?
Not many, but can you imagine if you're a linebacker and you're lining up and Lamar Jackson's a quarterback and Derrick Henry's a running back? That's you calling sick if you're a linebacker.
It's like, you got him. No, you got him.
Yeah. Wait, you want to tackle Henry or you want to try and catch Lamar Jackson?
It's like 52 is the mic. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
52 is not the mic. I'm not the mic.
I'm not the mic. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. As we mentioned, we've got big show news. We'll get to that in a moment. Not just Aaron Rodgers. That's just big sports news. We've got big show news for you. We've also got Cowboys news for you. Okay, let's get it going. If you want to, give us a call at 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You like that idea? Indianapolis with Lamar Jackson. It's not the worst idea I've heard.
I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment.
You can also follow along with the show, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, and come and say hi in the chat. SiriusXM channel 158, the free Odyssey app. Million ways to get the Maggie and Perloff show. Don't move. We're back in moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. It is officially NFL year 2023. Is that how it works? Do they label it as such? But 4 o'clock was when the tampering period ended and the real period of signing began. So things will become official. Give us a call, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227 with any thoughts on free agency, including, of course, Aaron Rodgers intending to go to the Jets. Yep. Lamar Jackson is now out there. Maggie, we need a report of some concrete number for Lamar Jackson. Could happen today.
Well, we already know from him he turned down 3 years and $133 million guaranteed.
Yes, and with strange emojis that we're not quite sure what he was saying. He said, "You think I need an agent?"
Yeah, we're like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
You might still need an agent. We're not sure because the Ravens source came back on that tweet. I forgot who, and said, no, those were the guarantees for the first 3 years of a 5-year deal that the Ravens offered.
Well, I think we all need an agent to help us understand what Lamar Jackson is tweeting. But it'd sure be good. We had Aaron Rodgers today. We have a lot of also big NFL stories, but a Lamar Jackson story would keep the momentum going. That's what we need, Meg.
No doubt. We need to see what teams are actually in on him. Like, just because the first day that he was tagged, you saw teams that were allegedly out, like the Atlanta Falcons. Do they circle back around? Or, who knows? Like, we know the Panthers are probably out for real. But are there teams that maybe we weren't thinking of who start throwing their hat in the ring?
Why the Dolphins are not in, I have no idea.
Dolphins say they're not in. They love Tua. Let's go to the phones, 855-212-4CBS. Tony's in Arkansas, wants to talk about Tua. What's up, Tony?
Hey, guys. Enjoying the show as usual. Just to actually, that was my question. The Dolphins, I mean, they're going back into this season with Tua. Does anybody really, no offense to Tua, I'm just saying we've all watched football for decades. Does anybody really believe that Tua is going to survive the season? It doesn't seem like it's bad luck. It just seems like it's a durability issue with his size and everything. And if that's the case, why don't the Dolphins go for Lamar Jackson? I just don't get it.
Tony, it's okay. Mike White is there to save everybody. You got a capable backup. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for listening. Listen, Mike White kind of is a high-end backup, even though he himself got folded in half also by Matt Milano of the Bills. Bills linebacker took out like half of the quarterbacks in the division last year. But it's a great question. I see why they picked up the 5th-year option. You do that for $20 million, okay. But how you can think you've got a roster. You traded for Jalen Ramsey. Like, you're thinking you're all in here if you're the Dolphins. How you can go in with Tua and think he's going to make it 17 games is a big, big if.
It's a huge if. I mean, you could argue that Lamar Jackson's not a great fit because he's never been a high-volume passer. I think his career high is about 3,300 yards in a season. A lot of that has to do with Baltimore's offense.
Yeah, he had terrible receivers. But not terrible. They didn't invest in that position.
But then again, here's the thing. Lamar is going to take off about 8 or 9 times a game. That's 8 or 9 non-targets for Tyreek Hill. So I do think that style-wise, they're like, do we need a running quarterback when we have the best receivers in the league? So who knows? Mike White, however, is not my the Mike White Tua just doesn't feel enough, especially now that Aaron Rodgers is in the AFC East.
Well, I mean, you've got Tyreek Hill, you've got Waddle. All you need is someone to just distribute the ball to them, And Tua did that in an excellent way.
Right.
And Mike White can do that. He can make the layups. Like, that's something that Zach Wilson couldn't do.
Yeah, Mike White's game a little better than me. Yeah. Say Tua does get hurt. Any chance Mike White plays not quite at an all-pro level, but is good?
Definitely not an all-pro. But he can just do the easy stuff. Again, like, he can competently run the offense.
That sounds okay for me.
The Jets fans loved him. You had Jets players wearing T-shirts celebrating Mike White because he can complete like a 5-yard out route. I mean, seriously. Zach Wilson couldn't do that. He was throwing at guys' feet. It was terrible. Okay, we also have more quarterback news just quickly to get to. These are sort of your phase 3, phase 2.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd.
Also,
Perloff's got his tiers.
There are teams that are crazy to not go after Lamar Jackson, that category as well. I don't know what phase that is.
Yeah, the crazy you're not in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, but we're not sure if you even are. The Washington Commanders are signing Jacoby Brissett to a 1-year deal, $8 million guaranteed. And then the Tampa Bay Bucks signed Baker Mayfield earlier today.
I can't believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady's team, signing Baker Mayfield has almost been forgotten in this crazy free agency day.
Well, that's what happens when Aaron Rodgers goes on McAfee and says he's playing for the Jets.
Yep.
He intends to.
Tier 2 or Tier 3. Yeah. I mean, on a normal day, we'd be so excited about this news. We'd debate who's going to go farther, Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield.
Would we?
I don't know. Yeah, a normal day, May 27th.
Well, yes, May
Nothing else going
27th,
on.
circle back to Maggie and Perloff. We'll be
Baker
talking about
Mayfield is a
Jacoby
big
Brissett.
name. He's a huge name. Jacoby Brissett, not so much. But Baker is a thing. Baker gets a lot of eyeballs. If they're any good in Tampa Bay, then they're going to take
Baker Renaissance?
It's just going to be a high Q rating. I think people are going to talk about them. They're going to play in prime time. It would be good. I like the upside there a little more than Jacoby Brissett. I think Baker gets a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention.
Can we please make a show bet on how many primetime games the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to get? Because wherever you want to set the line, I'm taking the under.
No, I said they would be good if he was good. I would say 3.
I'm going to take the under. I don't think Tampa's getting primetime games now that Brady's gone.
Baker's popular. Very
I think
popular.
you're looking at one Thursday night game.
Oh, show bet for sure.
Show bet.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, you said it at 3. I'm taking the under on
Do you remember
primetime
Baker
games
in
for Tampa.
Cleveland?
I do remember that, but Baker hasn't played well.
In L.A., he came on his first primetime game and won it.
I know, and that was exciting, but then
I think ESPN likes some Baker Mayfield. So I said 3, you said 1. It's definitely going to be 2 now.
I'm taking the under on
Thursday
3.
night and a flex out Sunday.
Okay, can we get to it? Our Cowboys quickie for today. Well, it is the end of an era. The Dallas Cowboys have officially cut ties with Ezekiel Elliott. It's going to be a post-June 1 designation, though. So it's going to save them a little bit of money in terms of their dead cap. Don't worry, yada, yada, yada. But he will officially be a free agent. Jerry Jones posting a lengthy goodbye to Ezekiel Elliott. Should I read it?
Can you do it in Jerry's voice? If you could do that, then I want to hear it.
No. Wait, can you do it in Jerry's voice?
Probably not, but I mean, listen, can you do Bill Clinton? Because they're almost the same exact thing. They're just a turn of Bill
Arkansas.
Clinton. Just try.
No.
You could do
Zeke's impact. I can't do it, and it's going to make it sound like I'm making fun of an Arkansas accent, which I don't want to do.
Zeke's impact on the team.
Nah, that dog won't hunt, as Jerry would say.
Yeah. All right. Well, we gave it our shot.
Yeah, that wasn't really good. We were like half in, half out. Zeke's impact and influence is seared into the Cowboys franchise in a very special and indelible way. Thank you, Manny.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Was that Jerry or Bill?
That was Bill.
I know that.
That was Bill in front of Congress.
It was definitely Bill. It could have been Jerry.
That's because Dan Patrick thought when he was a great Bill Clinton, and his Jerry Jones was identical to his Bill Clinton. So he would always do Jerry, and we would always look at each other. Is he doing Bill or Jerry? And then they morph into each other.
I could see Dan thinking he's very good at accents because Dan Patrick has like a golden voice.
Yeah.
So he probably thinks he's really good. Just like you, and it rubbed off on you.
No, he actually is really good. But for some reason, the Jerry and the Bill, he would start in Jerry's voice, then would go to Bill, then it might come back to Jerry.
And all of a sudden, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yeah, no, and then he would realize what he's doing, and then he would start just quoting. Then he would go, Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
Go into a little Reagan.
He'd go to Reagan, yeah.
Wow.
Then we had, yeah. Maybe that was me.
Stu wasn't even alive for that.
Gorbachev.
Manny definitely wasn't.
If you go from Jerry Jones, an impersonation of Bill Clinton, you end up at Ronald Reagan.
No, you end up always at Dana Carvey doing George Bush.
Yes, that's
no one ever does a real George Bush, the first impersonation. It's always Dana Carvey. 1,000 points a lat.
Yeah.
Stay the course.
Yes. I watched a special on Dana Carvey the other day, and I was like, I hadn't thought about the older George Bush that much in years.
The best is that he does it's supposed to be, now we're really dating ourselves. Manny's like, who the hell are you guys talking about? But
he doesn't even know the second George Bush.
I know. Manny, were you born in the second George Bush administration?
I was born before the second George Bush.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he took over in 2000.
I was born in 97.
It's not that far off. Manny could be an intern from college.
Wait, what year were you born? Sorry.
97.
No, yeah.
Isn't that far off?
You remember, obviously, the second George Bush well.
I remember the 2004 election.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
John Kerry.
Yeah, that one was kind of meh.
Not much to remember. I barely
2001
remember.
was way more fun. The Hanging Chads.
The Hanging Chads, yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, when SNL used to spoof when Dana Carvey would spoof George Bush, and then you just said like 1,000 points a lat, stay the course, and then it would be Michael Dukakis next to him being like, I can't believe I'm losing to this guy.
I love that.
The famous line.
That's basically what we do is we impersonate other impersonations.
Yeah, like Will Ferrell. It's always everyone doing an impersonation of Will Ferrell's George Bush the second.
Right. Or if you hear Bill Hader do something, that becomes the impersonation of record.
Yeah, that's
Bill Hader's Keith Morrison.
It's so good.
Why was she carrying a suitcase? Keith Morrison, I can't do it, but I'm a huge Keith Morrison fan, so
it was all about murder.
Murder in a small town. It's always Florida. 98% of the cases on Dateline were Florida.
Yeah.
Love that show.
Perloff, a big true crime person.
Oh, yeah. Now it's all on Netflix. It's not as fun as when it was on Dateline.
So my husband and I did the Murtaugh documentary.
That was good.
And then we were sitting there last Friday night. And we're like, do we do another one? Are we going to become those people that just watch all these Netflix true crime things? So we decided to watch basketball instead. We're not going to be those people.
Do you know what direction I've headed, which is terrible? I'm now into Alaska shows, and that's a whole genre. There's millions of them.
Wait a minute. What type? What do you mean Alaska shows?
There are all these shows about basically surviving in Alaska or British Columbia. There's one called Alone that is wildly popular, where they drop off 12 people in the wilderness, and they have to survive as long as they can before shooting up a flare and getting called back.
See, I always wonder, they have a camera crew with them, though, right?
No, they have to film. It's a huge production. They do their own filming.
Oh, okay.
And they contractually, they have to film everything their entire time. And they have to carry this...
Everything?
Everything. They have to carry this crazy camera equipment all over.
Like going to the bathroom?
That they do is just slightly off camera, but there are all these rules on how they go to the bathroom. It's an amazing show. Have you ever watched Alone?
No, because I don't feel like I have anything in common with anybody who's going alone in Alaska.
I have even less in common.
Zero in common.
I know. I'm obsessed with survivalist shows because I have no survival skills. But that led me into Port Protection, Alaska, which is a hot new show on National Geographic.
I'm sorry, did you say Port Protection?
Yeah, sorry, I have trouble saying that. It's a small town that's cut off from the rest of the world. They have no electricity, and the 100 residents there have to figure out a way to survive the winter.
Is Ryan Seacrest hosting this? Like, what is this? Is real life?
It's a great show. It's also a popular show, which, then there's Life Below Zero. Of course, Ice Road Truckers. There's a lot of shows up there. And
this speaks to you. Why?
Speaks to me so much. I love this idea of when it all goes down, when the apocalypse is here.
We know you're on a bike to Vermont.
I'm on a bike to Vermont. How would I do in that survivalist situation?
Yeah.
I know I would do terribly, but I like to at least fantasize that I could fish and hunt off the land and survive for a couple months.
You realize the moment you lose your glasses, you're out.
I would probably last. How long do you think you would last if they dropped you off on an Alaskan island with basically, you have a knife and a bow and arrow?
What am I doing with a knife? I'm hunting something?
Yeah.
Sorry. My upstate New York roots will betray me.
You don't think you could kill a deer with a bow and arrow if you had to survive?
No, I don't. And the other thing is, if I actually did accidentally even kill a deer, then what am I doing with it? I'm skinning it? I'm eating it? No way.
It's called dressing the deer. And I know all this because I watch tons of television about this.
Because you're in Port Protection, Alaska.
Everybody who's in eyesight right now, who survives the longest in Alaska with just a bow and arrow, no tent, and they have to live off the land?
Not Ackerman.
Definitely not me.
Ackerman, yeah.
Ackerman, no. Manny, are you born and raised in New York City?
Westchester, yeah.
Oh.
That's a big no.
Say, you were very quick to point out me.
Well, you're in the room with us. You're wearing a very comfortable-looking sweater today. I mean, it just all doesn't add up.
I'm just saying, it was just so...
if I'm not killing the deer, you're not killing the deer.
Absolutely not. I couldn't even dissect the frog in high school.
Yeah, me neither.
If you had to eat a slug to survive, would you do it?
No, definitely no. No.
You just die?
No. I can't even look fish in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's why Maggie picked you.
I was like the franchise player in the draft, is according to Maggie in this draft.
You can't look at a fish? What?
No, I can't even look at the fish.
What if it's a fillet?
As long as the head's not on,
okay.
I could look at it when it comes, but if the head's on it, forget it. I'm looking the other way.
I can't even cook a whole chicken because it reminds me of a baby.
What?
You ever hold up a whole chicken? Man, it looks funny. It looks like a baby.
Wait, so how about
Tyler
Sue?
Daniels says Maggie definitely survives longer than Perloff.
I would think so. I'd vote for you.
Really?
Yeah, you're from Binghamton, New York.
Maybe that kicks in.
I think of all of us, including Samter, I would go with Maggie surviving the longest.
Wow.
But then she just said she could not cook a chicken.
Yeah, you don't want to put your money on me. I think Stu's coming out alive.
We sure? I don't know.
Stu, you do like playing video games and stuff.
I
don't
do.
know if you
I would
can
struggle.
survive
without
your PS5.
It's tough.
I have Manny. He's the youngest.
Manny, you are the youngest.
I give myself half an hour.
But by the way,
send up the flare.
There's a real issue with all these shows.
What's that?
Almost every situation has a bear coming to your tent at night. So you have to be not afraid of bears.
Then I'm out.
Yeah, I'm good. That's why most people tap out, because there's a bear poking around their camp.
I would definitely tap out.
Bears go away though if you when we don't have any instruments to bang. But
they do.
No, you have a knife. You have a knife and a what?
I don't think it does.
You might have a bow and arrow, a knife, and some string.
What's that going to do?
That's not going to scare the bear.
No, it's just, if you watch these shows, also, as bears get closer to hibernation, they get desperate and hungry, and they're much more likely to attack and eat a human back.
Awesome.
Good to know.
Ak, you aren't going to probably want to stay out of Alaska for a while.
I'd say so.
Now do you guys understand why I watch these shows? They're fascinating.
Are we on in Alaska? We might be.
Really? In Port Protection, Alaska? They don't even have electricity. They get Maggie and Perloff?
Listen, they'd be so lucky. Gotta pass the day. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Oh, man. This is funny. Aaron said Marash would survive by eating his boogers.
Man.
You'd be dying for the peanut butter.
Marash would lose the most weight, that's for sure. I'm just saying.
There's nothing to eat there, that's why.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Mentioned the show announcement. We've got NCAA tournament stuff we've got to do. Of course, the big news is Aaron Rodgers intends to be a Jet. For more on that and everything else going on in sports today, here is Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
Well, 15 years ago, Aaron Rodgers replaced an aging Brett Favre, and now he'll be replaced in Green Bay by Jordan Love. The former MVP went on the Pat McAfee show earlier today and said he still wants to play and wants to play with the New York Jets. The 39-year-old said on the show he understands the reality of the situation.
You drafted Jordan. If I hadn't won MVP twice in a row, this would have been a conversation 2 years before, which is totally fine, and I get it. And Ted Thompson, rest his soul, is not there anymore. He drafted me. It's a different regime, and every regime wants to have their guys in there, and I totally understand it. I mean, it's a business. I'm not naive to that. It is what it is.
The Patriots let Jacoby Myers walk, and today reportedly come to terms with Juju Smith-Schuster on a 3-year deal, identical to what Myers got in Las Vegas. Baker Mayfield on his 4th team in the last year, signing a 1-year deal with the Bucs worth over $8 million. Tampa Bay also reportedly re-signs Levante David. The Cowboys, after their big spending day yesterday, reportedly releasing Ezekiel Elliott, whose better days seem behind him at 27. Hayden Hurst and the Panthers come to terms on a 3-year deal. And Jean Morant, suspended 8 games by the NBA for conduct detrimental to the league. He can be reinstated on March 20th. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Get 3 hours of Jim Rome, middays on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Massive news day in the NFL. Rodgers makes it official. He intends to play for the Jets. He also says the Packers are dug in on what it's going to take to pull off this trade. So now the Jets have to make it happen, because the Packers don't have to do anything. They've got Jordan Love. They can sit around and wait. The Jets are the ones who have to get this thing across the finish line. So let's go do it.
That being said, they do not want to see Aaron Rodgers walk through that door ever again.
The Packers? No, they're done.
They're done.
Yeah.
So that's the only little bit of leverage against them, is that they're done. I think
another team would jump in.
I think they're close enough right now. I think they're just dotting the I's, because Rodgers can't be dumb enough to kill the leverage of the trade for his future team by saying all this, saying I'm going to the Jets, right?
Yeah, I don't think he cares much about what the draft compensation, all that stuff, because he's there for a year, maybe two.
That's true.
I mean, what does he really care about the long-term future of the Jets? Like, he's in it for the short term of the Jets. Let's go to Ryan, who's in Santa Barbara, wants to talk about a possible destination for Lamar Jackson. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, Hey, what's happening? Hello, Maggie and Perloff. Thanks for taking my call. Great show and happy hump day.
Thank you. Same to you. What's on your mind?
I have two questions for the both of you. And what about your thoughts on Lamar Jackson going to my San Francisco 49ers?
Wow.
I know they just signed Sam Darnold, but could you see how much fit that would be with the young lobster drafting up plays for Lamar? And second question is, who do you have cutting down the nets at the end of the tourney?
All right, Ryan coming in hot. I love it. I love it that he said, I know they just signed Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and you have another guy
that's
named
going to matter.
Trey Lance, and you have another guy named Brock Purdy.
None of that matters if it's Lamar Jackson.
You cannot add Lamar Jackson.
Another oft-injured quarterback? He's perfect in San Francisco. No, it'd be great, but I don't know if they want to make that financial commitment.
No, I mean, there are too many quarterbacks in the building right now.
Yeah, but none of them should preclude you from making a trade for Lamar. Like, if you want Lamar Jackson, you wipe the slate clean. But Brock Purdy is going to keep you from going for Lamar Jackson? That doesn't make sense.
You cannot give $250 million to Lamar Jackson. You have so many talented players to pay in that building. You might as well stick cheap at quarterback. Right? I mean, they have two guys under rookie deals, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, that they can win. Brock Purdy won 10 games in a row. Or no, he won, whatever. Yeah. They won 10 games in a row with him. I think 7 were him. And they might have beaten the Eagles. No, you're not going to all of a sudden reallocate all your money to quarterback.
Yeah, but you understand that, like, in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You cannot hold up Brock Purdy and Lamar Jackson and say these are the same people.
Right, but in a vacuum, you can't look at the San Francisco roster that makes them a favorite with Lamar Jackson. That's all gone. You know, you're not going to be able to keep 7 Pro Bowl. You know, they just signed. They're paying McCaffrey. They're paying Debo. They have to pay Bosa. They have all this guys they have to pay.
I get that, but with the guaranteed money, a lot of that can be moved around as signing bonuses and stuff like that. His actual base salary or what it counts against the cap, that could be manageable if Lamar's willing to play ball.
I think that's
think about Deshaun Watson. It was it felt kind of like gross what they did, but they made his base salary like nothing this year because they knew he was going to be suspended for a long time, and he still got the $230 million guaranteed.
Yeah, and we're in free agency. Have we heard?
He already restructured.
Have we heard a thing from the Browns? No, they're not players at anything. San Francisco has so many talented players to pay.
The Browns did make a move. Who was it? It was like a defensive tackle.
Well, right, but they haven't made a lot of moves. Yeah. I know the Niners lost Ekuban and the Niners.
Dalvin Tomlinson.
But the Niners yesterday signed Javon Hargrave for $84 million. They have a lot of money spread around that team. It'd be hard to break. They don't need Lamar Jackson either. I mean, first of all, every night put $250 million into a guy on a team where every quarterback gets hurt. That's tricky.
It is, but imagine, you have Kyle Shanahan who loves a good running attack. Yeah. Now, he doesn't really necessarily love running quarterback. Oh, no, but that's why they drafted Trey Lance. They wanted a running quarterback.
Yeah, he was great with RG3.
That's true. His
RG3.
dad, technically, right?
Yeah, it's just the money. That's why you need a team with no identity and nobody around like Atlanta. I can't believe Atlanta's not in on Lamar Jackson. San Francisco doesn't need Lamar Jackson to win a ton of games. Atlanta needs Lamar Jackson, Maggie.
Okay, the other question was, who do we think is cutting down the nets, is what Ryan wanted to know. So I filled out my bracket in our buddy Nick in Texas, who has the Perloffs Pearl Jam Season 2 bracket. We'll tweet out the link again from the Maggie and Pearl Twitter handle. Plus, we'll put it in the chat. I just threw 100 things at Stu, so how about 101? We could put the link in the chat. Season 2 of the Pearl Jam is up now. I filled out my bracket last night.
I'm 80% of the way there. There's a couple 8-9s that I'm debating. I'm breaking down the numbers, looking at the matchups.
Yeah, sure. I picked Alabama. So
I'm picking Houston.
Oh, a little Jim Nance send up?
Yeah. Listen, Case Keenum, my friend, signed with the Houston Texans. He went to the University of Houston.
He's played there for 7 years.
6 years, technically. Jim Nance went to the University of Houston. He's going to be calling his last Final Four. Everything is coming up Houston. Houston. And Marcus Sasser, I'm going to look past that injury.
Yeah,
and,
big one to look past.
I mean, listen, it's not exactly like I'm taking a Cinderella here.
Yeah, no, you're taking a 1 seed. Nice. We're going to get more into that, of course. Our pal Steve Lappas is going to join us next. Again, big show announcements still to come. We got Aaron Rodgers. We got too much to do today. Glad to have you with us.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
In Pittsburgh, local bowling alley is doing naked night. You got to be totally naked if you're going to bowl. Starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which I thought was a little early for all naked bowling.
I'll tell you where that bag is going. It's going over my head, so I don't have to see any of these naked bowlers in Pittsburgh at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Most sports, if you played them naked, would be just gross, right? Bowling, you could kind of tactfully do that.
No. Everything's swinging around there. We're going to bowling. I'm competing to win. Clothes or no clothes. I'm not going to just stand there so my junk doesn't fly around.
I can't think of another sport that you could do gracefully or tactfully while naked. Well, I thought of one. Race car driving. Honestly, who would know?
I had a NASCAR joke about the Bush brothers.
Don't do it.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
What up, what up? Welcome to the show. It is Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff across the country. CBS Sports Radio. We're streaming live, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Come on in, join the Weedos, the Purple Drinkers in the chat. We're on the Odyssey app, which is free to download, and we're on Sirius XM channel 158. Big news today. Aaron Rodgers goes on. Pat McAfee says he intends to play for the New York Jets. Now all that's left are the details.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in my life where I intended to date Gisele Bündchen. It never happened.
She was spotted with the jiu-jitsu instructor, by the way, again. Oh, I know. I think that might be a thing.
That's obviously a thing, and that is going to motivate Tom Brady to come out of retirement. The more Instagram. But anyway, yeah, this is obviously a huge day. You and I disagree a little bit on what impact this has. Can the Green Bay at this point really be holding out?
Green Bay realizes that they've got the Jets over a barrel. So is that the term? Over a barrel? So they realize that they've got the Jets, and they can just sit back and wait and let the Jets come to them. Now, granted, everyone wants to get this done, but from what I can tell, it's actually could be even better off for the Packers' balance sheet if Rodgers retires. So in terms of like the money, obviously you're not getting the draft compensation. So they can just sit back and wait, and then the ball's in the Jets' court, and the Jets have to make this happen.
It's funny, on the flip side, Green Bay hasn't really signed anyone or done anything. They're not really loading up to help Jordan Love.
Well, I mean, don't you get a little bit of like the year after? I know you still want to be competitive with Jordan Love on a rookie deal, but I don't know.
Well, it's Green Bay, so you expect it to be seamless to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, Pro Bowler. I think he's going to be good, Maggie. I think he's going to be really good. Jordan Love, that is.
Aaron Rodgers was singing his praises today on McAfee, says he's gotten so much better, and he is going to be good. Now, here was Rodgers. Let's listen to a little bit, where he talks about this idea that he had all these demands and all these players, like a list of players that had to come to New York with him. He says that's not true.
You know, from what I've seen, it's like I had a sheet of paper when I met with the Jets and I said, sign these people. And that's not the reality. That's so ridiculous.
All right, that sounds good.
It's so stupid. Did they ask me about certain guys I played with over years? Of course. Did I talk glowingly about teammates that I love? Yeah. Do I love those guys on the list? Of course.
Right. He loves all those guys on the list. Maybe he didn't have an actual list, Perloff, but the fact that Allen Lazard was signed by the Jets yesterday kind of goes to show that Aaron Rodgers' seal of approval obviously meant something to the Jets.
Well, Lazard also makes a lot of sense football-wise. There was a report that the Broncos liked Allen Lazard. I think Allen Lazard is a really good player. He knows Nathaniel Hackett's system like the back of his hand. I get that. And this happens all the time. Peyton Manning brought Brandon Stokely wherever he went. Tom Brady's bringing guys around.
Yeah, Gronk.
Yeah, Gronk. So this really isn't super controversial. Although with Aaron Rodgers, everything feels somewhat controversial.
It's very true. He can't just get through the day. Okay, we'll turn our attention from Rodgers to the NCAA tournament on the men's side. And we're so pleased to be joined by Coach Steve Lappas, who's going to be calling. You got some good games here, Coach. Number 1, Purdue against the winner of Texas Southern Fairleigh Dickinson. You get number 8, Memphis against number 9, Florida Atlantic. You get Michigan State against USC, and you get Marquette against Vermont. This is all happening in Columbus, Ohio. This is going to be awesome, Coach. Thanks so much for making the time for us today.
Hey, great to be on with you, Maggie.
Listen, Coach, are you a big Jets fan, though, before we get to this? You're New York through and through. Is this a good day for you with Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, my God. I am a huge, you don't understand. Like, Joe Namath was my idol because of what he did for the Jets in 1969. So I'm a huge Jets fan. You can't get, well, I don't want to say you can't get a bigger one, but I'm up there. There's no doubt about it. And I'm so excited, I can't tell you.
I love it. I had a feeling, Coach. I had a feeling. Of course, Steve Lappas, the former head coach at Villanova, at Manhattan, at UMass, and I said going to be calling the tournament. Okay, Coach, do you think in the region you have, the East region, are you going to be calling a game of the eventual national champs?
You know, I don't think so. As good as Purdue is, I really don't think so. I know Marquette is really good too. Obviously those are two of the best teams. There's no doubt about it. But I think Duke right now, the way they're sitting there as a 5 seed, I think they're extremely dangerous. They played great. I know they're a little young, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But there's no doubt that Marquette and Purdue are great teams for sure. But, I think that Duke right now, after what they've been doing lately, I think they're going to be a tough one.
Wow, you think Duke's going to win the tournament?
I do. No, I don't think Duke's going to win the tournament, but I think Duke is going to win that region.
Got it.
Just sitting there as a 5 seed, they played great in the ACC tournament. I think their freshmen have really grown up. And the thing about them is, if Jeremy Roach plays well, who's their point guard, then they all of a sudden become an unbelievable team. So right now, I'm really thinking about them. And, Purdue's really good, but Purdue's got 2 freshman guards that have been a little bit up and down lately. Marquette, no doubt, is a really good team. They were picked 9th in the Big East, and they go and win the Big East championship. But I don't know. There's something about this Duke team that makes me come back to them.
Coach, I think you could argue that the biggest star in the tournament is Zach Edey. Biggest because he's so big is where I'm going there.
Yeah.
How effective is he going to be in the tournament? Because, he looked pretty good in the conference tournament to me. Can he lead Purdue on a long run?
Oh, no. There's no doubt he can lead them on a long run. The thing about Zach Edey is he is no question the best player in this tournament. They know how to, and what Matt Painter knows how to use them. They throw him the ball every chance they get, which is obviously very smart. But he's had a couple of games this year. I mean, I was there. He had 32 points against Indiana in a game they lost. So I think with them, the problem is they have 2 freshman guards, especially Lawyer, who has been struggling lately, and that's what concerns me about them. But when it comes to Zach Edey, I mean, when it comes to a usage standpoint, they use him every play. The kid has done everything possible. He's the National Player of the Year without question. And obviously, if you're in a close game, it always helps, excuse me, to have him, in the last minute, you want to throw the guy a ball. That's who you're going to throw it to. But I just worry about their freshmen. They have 2 freshmen that start. And this is kid David Jenkins, who's transferred to a couple of different places, that's really bailed them out this past weekend. That's my concern about Purdue. But Zach Edey, he's tremendous.
Steve Lappas is our guest. He's a CBS Sports college basketball analyst, obviously former coach. He's going to be in the Columbus region alongside Andrew Catalon, Jamie Iredall on Friday and Sunday. First game tips off at 12:15 Eastern Friday on CBS between USC and Michigan State. All right, Coach, can we go over to another top seed, and that's Kansas? And I'd love to get from a coach's point of view, with Bill Self is forced to miss the Big 12 tournament because he has a heart issue, had to get some stents put in. Now he's going to join the team in the most stressful month of the season for a college basketball coach. What are the challenges here for the coach?
obviously, you first thing you hope is that Bill's okay. I mean, it's not. I know they consider it minor, but it's not really minor when you go into a stressful situation like he's in. So it's hard to say how that's going to affect anything. The thing about Kansas is that they're a very good team, no doubt about it. And what they've done this year, considering what they lost from last year's team, is really incredible. So, and Bill Self is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best coaches in the country. Just the way he can, the way he coaches his team, the way he makes adjustments with his team, he is a tremendous coach. Now, that being said, if he's okay, and obviously they think he's okay enough to coach, they're going to be up against it, because this is not I don't think this is a Kansas team with tremendous power inside like they've been in the past. Last year they had David McCormick. This year they don't really have a big. KJ Adams and Jalen Wilson, they're good players. Jalen Wilson's been one of the best players in the country, but they don't have that down low scorer that they've always had, that Bill Self does so great with. So, they're going to have a tough job, because Arkansas in the next game they could play, and Arkansas is very talented. But, I got to give Bill Self and his team a lot of credit that even they're in the position to be a 1 seed after what they lost from last year. But he's one of the best coaches in the country.
Okay, Coach, another number 1 seed with possible issues heading into the tournament. Alabama looks great, but it's impossible to ignore the controversy surrounding Brandon Miller, their star wingman. There's just a report that he's showed up with an armed guard because he's been getting threats. Is the situation and the tragic death that was, the team was involved with, a player on Alabama was involved with, is that going to be a distraction for Alabama moving forward?
I have to think, it's one thing to be playing in the SEC and have SEC media with you. Now you step up and you've got national media with you. And this unfortunate tragedy is not going away. So now they're going to have their answer. They may think that, all right, we already answered everything. But no, you didn't, because the bottom line is now you're going to have the national media on you every second. So I have to think that, and you were talking about somebody died, and, people aren't going to let this go. And it's certainly understandable that they're going to let it go. And the media is going to be all over it. So, you better be able to deal with and talking to the media and having this hanging over your head and have the ability to play well at the same time. I think it's very hard. And I think it's going to get more and more difficult. People may think, all right, they answered the questions. It was really 2 weeks ago that everything came out. That's true. But the NCAA tournament, the pressure mounts, the media mounts, and I think the questions are not going to stop. And I think it's just going to make things that much harder. They're a great team, and Brandon Miller's a great player, but they're going to have a lot to deal with besides playing basketball.
Steve Lappas is our guest. Coach Lappas is going to be calling the East Region on CBS. And last one for you, Coach, for me, which is Cinderella. Do we have a St. Peter's in this tournament? And if so, who is it?
You know what, Maggie, I got to be honest with you. If anybody could have possibly picked last year, they should be at when I was younger, they would say the racetrack every day or somewhere like that. People don't talk about the racetrack that much anymore. But the bottom line is, there's so much luck involved in a one-game situation. This St. Peter's team, there have been plenty of great teams coming out of that. I coached in that conference in 1988. My first head job was at Manhattan College. And so there have been many, many, many teams in that time frame better than that St. Peter's team that did not get as far as they got. The luck and whatever happened, happens, and it was great coaching, obviously, by Shaheen Holloway, no doubt about it. But to even think about coming up with somebody like that, I wouldn't even try to do it.
No Cinderellas this year.
No, there may be, but I can't think of what it is.
Listen, Coach, appreciate the time. Congrats to your Jets. This is a huge day. Enjoy the tournament. Have a great call or have a great couple days. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Can we actually win the Super Bowl now? I mean, I know we had a great defense last year. I think Robert Sally's a great coach. Can we actually get to the Super Bowl?
Coach, you can actually get to the Super Bowl. You can actually get there. You just got to look out for Columbus. You just got to look out for Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Trevor Lawrence.
That's it? That's no problem.
Yeah, cakewalk for you. Coach Lappas, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true Jets fan.
Oh, yeah.
And every
That's
Jets
how
fan,
New York sounds today.
Excited, but there is always an acknowledgement of how long it's been. He's like, I love Joe Namath. Nobody in between Namath and now Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no one gets on just like massive Chad Pennington.
Yeah, no one's like, I love Namath. And that 1 year where Vinny was good, that was great also.
Yeah, and then remember Ryan Fitzpatrick, if they didn't lose that game in Buffalo, probably would have gone to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I actually don't remember
Did I get into too much into Jets history there? Sorry.
Yeah, Ken O'Brien had a couple good years back in the 80s. No, it's funny. New York is excited. I think New York's excited. Now, what's going to happen with the news here? Is the Final Four and all this, is it going to blow past Aaron Rodgers? Or people going to be all about Aaron Rodgers here for the next 4 months?
Once the tournament starts, the tournament's on. You know how this goes every year.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening in sports, in the world, I would say, not to be a little too closed-minded on things, but the tournament just takes over. It's a behemoth.
Yeah, and I think even in New York, outside, everyone earlier today was talking about Aaron Rodgers and excited. Then I just heard some guy was talking about the first-round lines.
Yeah.
And basically, there's all these pick'ems. It's just good luck, right? It's really hard. I can't wait. Stayed up.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I said you stayed up late watching the play-in, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Do you regret that use of time?
No, absolutely not. I'm into the first four. I mean, there was 50 free throws in the first game. It was really bad. It ended up being exciting. And then Pitt won, and it was exciting there. You know what I also realized? Friday is some kind of a, I don't know, vortex of some sort. Because you're got second day of the tournament.
Right.
So games are starting at noon Eastern all throughout the day. It's a Friday, and you've got St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be some, the universe is going to, tilt off its axis a little bit or something.
So what you're saying is it's going to be a drunken vortex.
I don't know, New York City on St. Patrick's Day, I'm sure it's like this all over. But, it's another thing. It's on a different level. It's St. Patrick's Day, Halloween. There's a couple, Santa Con. I don't know if they do that in other cities where everyone dresses up like Santa.
You know how I feel about those days. It's amateur hour.
Listen, but
if you're going to be a real partier, get out there.
Yeah, if you're a real partier, you party on Mondays. No, Friday, St. Patrick's Day. I just remember I used to be a bartender in New York City at an Irish bar, sports bar that had an Irish theme, and tilted that way a little bit. And I would make double the rent money in one day.
That's sweet. Yeah, I don't love being out on the street on this day. I'm not going to lie.
You step and puke is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You will step and vomit.
My favorite thing is the Green River in Chicago.
They did that last week.
Yeah, I know they did. Yeah. That's the best St. Patrick's Day. I think every city probably has something big.
Definitely.
New York is a little dangerous on St. Patrick's Day, too.
Oh, start early.
Yeah.
It goes hard early and often, and then you're going to get the games. Bars are just going to be packed to the gills all over the country.
Yeah, it's going to be great. A lot of people with excuses for work.
Nobody's coming in on Friday.
Now that nobody actually goes into the office, everyone's going to be working from home on Friday,
It's
right?
a little true. And working from home is actually McGillicuddy's bar down the corner, It's going to be wild. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Nobody here calling in sick, no?
Well, we get to watch sports professionally. I mean, we don't have
That's
to call in sick. The games are on everywhere around the building.
We get to talk about it, too. All right, coming up next, the big show announcement. That happens in just moments. Don't move. You're listening to Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Glad to have you. Busy Wednesday. The news, of course, Aaron Rodgers says he intends to play for the New York Jets. So the Green Bay Packers officially turned the page to Jordan Love, who Aaron Rodgers wished well on the Pat McAfee show, said he's improved a lot and thinks he's going to be great. That will be good news to our buddy Leon Sadler from Casamigos. It's time for our Casamigos shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Today's shot comes from our discussion about Andrew Perloff, who has gotten into Alaskan survival TV shows lately.
Lately?
He's become more vocal about it lately. So who would survive in the Alaskan wilderness?
Everybody who's in eyesight right now, who survives the longest in Alaska with just a bow and arrow, no tent, and they have to live off the land?
Not Ackerman.
You were very quick to point out me.
Well, you're in the room with us. You're wearing a very comfortable-looking sweater today. I mean, it just all doesn't add
I'm just saying, it was
if
just
I'm not, listen, if I'm not killing the deer, you're not killing the deer.
Absolutely not. I couldn't even dissect the frog in high school.
Yeah, me neither.
If you had to eat a slug to survive, would you do it?
No, definitely not. Oh, no.
You just die?
No. I can't even look fish in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's why Maggie picked you.
I was like the franchise player in the draft, is according to Maggie in this draft.
You can't look at a fish? What?
No, I can't even look at the fish.
I can't even cook a whole chicken because it reminds me of a baby. You know, maybe I shouldn't have revealed that on the show. I just thought about that.
So you're putting the chicken into the oven and you're
if you
hearing
ever
it say...
hold the chicken like underneath the wings, it feels a lot like a baby.
How about a turkey?
Same.
Okay.
Any kind of fowl. Yeah, Cornish game hen, yeah, the same thing.
Cornish game hen's a little newborn baby. That's particularly sad.
I don't want to think about it. What I do want to think about is Casamigos. Go to Casamigos.com. That's where I get all of my cocktail recipe suggestions. And NCAA tournament time, parties are going to be happening.
Yeah.
That's where you want to go check out Casamigos and our good friends, George Clooney and Randy Gerber and Mike Melvin. We mentioned Lee Einsiedler, massive Packer fans. So today is an interesting day, bittersweet day. But I think Lee and most Packer fans are actually ready for this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an NFL fan, it's good because the Packers, in a funny way, get more interesting. At least you want to see what's going to happen. And the Jets get more interesting. Love it. I don't think they play this year, but that would be cool.
I think they played.
Yeah, they played last year.
Sauce Gardner picked off Rodgers and then wore a cheesehead.
I mean, that'd be a great Super Bowl matchup, Jets and Packers.
What are the odds on that? I'm joking.
Not good.
No. Okay, time for the big show news. We have decided to bring back a Maggie and Perloff bracket this year. No. Not what Nick in Texas is doing with the Perloffs bracket season 2, which we needed to tweet out. We'll get you all the information. Come and be a part of our bracket. No. We last year did our bracket of stuff, which I don't even remember who won that last year. Ketchup? I think Ketchup won. That's all right, Stu. Don't worry.
Bracket stuff that we like.
That was just stuff. It was anything.
I think that we have positive feeling towards.
Yes, it was a positive bent.
Can Ketchup won?
I think Ketchup won in an upset.
I love Ketchup, but okay.
Yeah, we all love Ketchup. That's why it won.
There you go.
So this year, instead of doing stuff, we're doing a bracket of the worst. Stuff that is just the worst. Hit it. This music puts me in such a good mood, so let's talk about things that are the worst. We're going to break down our first region today, and that is the upper right.
The upper right.
We didn't name them this year.
Let's call it the East.
Sure. It's the East region.
In East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Number 1 overall seed, low shower pressure, faces off against 16-seeded having to wait to use the treadmill at the gym. You got an 8-9 matchup of an 80-yard touchdown wiped out by a holding call.
Oh, the worst.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
I forgot we had imaging. Takes on seeing a spoiler. Sucks. Number 5, the 5-12 matchup is people who stand on the walk side of the escalator.
That's the worst idea I've ever heard in my lifetime.
Versus getting a song stuck in your head. That is a strong 12 seed.
Yeah.
Go to the 4-13 matchup. Number 4 seeded software updates. Ugh.
I'm in the middle of one right now. I cannot find Shazam anywhere on my phone, but please go ahead.
It is terrible. Goes up against 13 seeded when someone asks you to like something on social media. Ugh. The 6-11 matchup, when you don't have a reservation at a restaurant, you walk up and see a line out the door.
No good.
Awful. That's taking on 11 seeded waiting at the doctor's office.
Stressful.
Yes?
By the way, I actually texted you the other day and asked you to like something on social media, and now it shows up in the bracket. Whatever.
Yeah, not an accident. And then Did I lose it here?
I don't know. I can't read this right now.
It's and then we have what? Sorry, this is small. Oh, okay. We got the 7:10.
Is that the drive-through order gone wrong?
Yes, no. It's not the drive-through. It's the 7:10 matchup is the person in front of you with a huge order at the drive-through goes up against 10-seeded uncomfortable shoes. Oh, the 3:14. I'm sorry, having trouble falling asleep, which is terrible. Goes up against 14-seeded pollen.
The worst.
Which is definitely something that Perloff.
That's a potential upset.
And second-seeded Mondays takes on having to sneeze and you can't as a 15 seed.
You know what my trick is? I always stare into a light.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
or say watermelon over and over again.
Oh, I never heard that one. That's great. Is there science behind either of these?
I have no idea. Distraction? All right, so that's the first region. That's the East region.
Yeah, just to reiterate, these are things that are the worst. After they happen, you say, that's the worst.
Yeah. Number 1 overall seed in the tournament, low shower pressure.
That's the worst.
It is the worst.
The worst. Really the worst.
That's why it's seated so high.
I have a double whammy in my apartment where if my daughter and wife take a shower before me, not only is it low pressure, it's cold.
No.
Yes.
Oh, that's awful because you have to you really got to strategize about who showers when.
No,
it's like a race,
and it's competition. Then you sit in there and you're like, well, if I wait it out, it's going to get warm again. Yeah. So you sit under a semi-cold, low-pressure shower. It's the worst.
Oh man, Perloff, how do you even live?
Yeah, no, it's gotten to the point. I grew up on sitcoms in the 80s and 90s where everybody was competing for the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'll never happen to me, a single man in New York. Now, basically, my daughter spends about an hour and 45 minutes getting ready in the bathroom.
I mean, you are a man living with 3 women.
Yes.
Girls/women.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the bathroom time.
Just wait. Wait till your youngest starts getting ready for school in a real way.
No, she hates it, too. She will not spend more than 10 seconds getting ready.
That will change.
She's in 5th grade. I think 6th grade is going to be dangerous.
You're never going to see that bathroom again. You might as well get an outhouse.
And listen, it's not like I'm a normal man. I put on makeup, and I have my own things to do in there.
Yes, I mean, listen, we're on a YouTube live stream. You can't just go out here with a bare face.
No, actually, yeah, I do not spend nearly as much time. But I have had to use a bottle before, Maggie. I'm not going to lie.
No. Don't tell us that.
I'm just kidding. Not.
Perloff, not like peeing off the balcony, are you?
Honey, are you almost done? Dad, I'm almost done.
45 minutes later, you're taking a cold shower. Oh, man, that stinks.
Yeah, it's not fun. That's what I would call the worst.
All right, so did I properly butcher that East bracket?
Listen,
we're going to tweet it out. It's a lot of picks. It's a lot.
It's a lot going on in there.
64 things that are the worst.
Yeah. Why don't we share the number 1 seeds? Just give everybody an idea of what's going on here.
Okay, the four number 1 seeds in this tournament. Number 1 overall seed, low shower pressure. The second overall seed is people who call instead of text.
Ooh.
Brutal. The third overall seed is flight cancellations.
The worst.
The fourth overall seed, moving.
The worst.
Yeah.
Moving sucks.
Moving's terrible.
You could be moving across the street. It sucks.
You could be moving up 2 floors in the same apartment building. It's still a disaster.
Awful. Anyway, so that's our bracket this year, the Maggie and Perloff bracket of the worst.
It's the worst bracket, and we say that in a positive way.
It's the 64 things of the worst.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't think Ack understands this concept that well, but
Ack understands.
I don't like the number 1 seed of call instead of text. I like call.
Of course.
Call is a lot easier. Now, text is like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Like, call when you need to get something done.
Ooh.
If you ever call me, Ack, I'm not going to pick
I already called you. You did not call me back.
Did you call me?
I called you when you first got the job to congratulate you.
Oh,
you
that's
called
nice.
me.
That's a text, though.
That's a text, dude.
I don't know you. Why would I text you?
Hey,
call is much more. It's much more sincere, personal.
I'm going to be honest. I see someone calling me, immediate anxiety.
So I told
oh no, something's wrong. Manny's shaking his head.
I showed this maybe.
Also waited a year and a half act to say something.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Well,
I didn't recognize the
as
number.
you can tell, I wasn't distraught.
Why would I pick up the number that I didn't even know?
I left a message.
Who checks those?
Exactly.
Don't leave a message. Text.
But
you know that Progressive commercial?
You wouldn't look at the text if you didn't know where the number was coming from.
Yes, of course I would. You know that Progressive commercial, Don't Become Your Dad? Literally, one of the things they have is do not leave a voicemail.
Yes.
When 99% of the time it textifies. I showed my 12-year-old daughter this bracket. She said, Dad, nobody texts anymore. You only FaceTime.
Wow, how do you like that?
What do you think, Manny? You're young. No?
Well, I mean, the only person that I FaceTime is my girlfriend. Otherwise, everybody else gets a text message.
So my 12-year-old daughter, all they do is FaceTime or Snapchat. If there's no visual, it might as well not even happen.
So she only texts like you and your wife. Like texting is for parents now.
Yes, and she hates texting. She won't even text us. K is all I'll get back. But if I FaceTime her,
maybe it should be FaceTime or text. That should be the number one seed, no?
I can't. FaceTime, I can't do it.
You can't do FaceTime. For some
if somebody
reason,
FaceTimes me, I'm like, this is an accident.
FaceTime is actually better than a phone call, though. A phone call is just awkward.
Have you ever accidentally done a FaceTime or something, and you get a shot of yourself and what you look like from underneath your chin?
Terrible.
In your own phone?
Terrible.
Hideous. Just hideous.
Okay, good. I'm glad you say that because I don't think in the best of light I look amazing, but I look particularly bad in some FaceTimes.
Honestly, if I pick up my phone and I just see even the reflection in the glass of under my chin, I'm like, who is that troll?
So you're not supposed to photograph yourself from underneath. You have to keep it up.
Up high angle. That's the only option. Underneath, oof.
The worst. Really the worst.
Thank you. And I mean it. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to our friend Ian O'Connor, columnist for the New York Post. Ackerman gave that a big thumbs up. Get a little perspective on this Aaron Rodgers joining the Jets. What does it all mean? We'll get to that and so much more. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $700 on average. Call or click today to find out if you can save hundreds on your car insurance. Aaron Rodgers will likely be wearing the green of a different team next season, saying on the Pat McAfee show he intends to play for the New York Jets. Now, those teams trying to work out a deal. The former MVP said he told the Packers last Friday, knowing it was a time for a change for everyone.
Packers would like to move on. They've let me know that in so many words. They've let other people know that in direct words. And because I still have that fire and I want to play and I would like to play in New York, it's just a matter of, getting that done at this point.
Juju Smith-Schuster, the latest wide receiver to leave Kansas City, reportedly signing with the Patriots for 3 years, a total of $33 million. The Bucs may have found Tom Brady's successor, signing Baker Mayfield to a one-year deal at $8.5 million. They also reportedly re-signed Levante David. While Ezekiel Elliott's days in Dallas are over, the Cowboys are releasing the 27-year-old three-time Pro Bowler John Morant, suspended 8 games for conduct detrimental to the NBA. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports is everywhere, at home, in your car, and of course on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Question of the day is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Today's question comes from Artie in Homedale, who wants to know where do you rank the Jets in the AFC? Now that Aaron Rodgers intends to play for the Jets. Don't forget, you can submit a question by going to cbssportsradio.com/askthepros or tweeting it at CBS Sports Radio using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, we do have another expert on the line, a pro, if you will. Ian O'Connor will help us answer that question. He's a columnist for the New York Post. He's an award-winning sports writer and author of several best-selling books, including Belichick, book on Coach K, Derek Jeter, Arnie and Jack. Ian, thanks so much for the time today. How you doing?
Good, Maggie. How are you?
We're doing great. So this is obviously a massive day for the New York Jets. Let's answer our question here, our Ask the Pros question. Where would you put the Jets now in the AFC with Aaron Rodgers intent to sign with them?
I'd probably put them in second place. I don't think they're going to beat the Bills in that division with Rodgers, but could they make a playoff run with Rodgers as a wild card? I think that's a realistic projection. And I wasn't in love with it initially when obviously the Jets targeted him, thinking that Garoppolo might have made a little more sense for a few different reasons. But I was committed to not criticizing the Jets, whether they got Rodgers, Carr, or Garoppolo, because I think all three you could make a case for. I understand when you have a first-ballot Hall of Famer like Rodgers available who wants to play for you, that it'd be hard to not pursue that if you're the New York Jets and you haven't been in a Super Bowl since man stepped on the moon. So I have no problem with it, but the idea that Aaron Rodgers hasn't been to the Super Bowl in 12 years, so the idea that he's going to walk in, win that division, and the Jets are going to the biggest stage in sports, let's see how it plays out.
You know, Ian, I'm seeing a lot of actually a surprising amount of negativity in New York because a lot of people think the Jets just can't make the right move historically, so why would this be any different? What would you tell people when they say that?
Well, I think, Andrew, that it's a realistic, or it's something that I think is fair to say. The history of the Jets is 15 years ago, Brett Favre, that was almost as big a deal or as big a deal as Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. And they were 8-3, and people were talking about a Jets-Giants Super Bowl, and boom, he got hurt, and the Jets didn't make the playoffs, and that was that. Then he was off to Minnesota. So I think the Jet fan is wired to believe the worst. It's been a Charlie Brown franchise, and it's hard to believe that Lucy's going to hold the ball there all the way through. And so I think it's natural to be skeptical about Rodgers and an instant success for the Jets. Of course, it's a really tight window. You're looking at what? What is Aaron Rodgers going to give the New York Jets? 2 years? 1 year? Maybe 3 max? So it's been a franchise that nothing ever seems to go right for it. I give the Jets credit for identifying the quarterback they wanted, and they made all the right moves to seemingly get him. I think it was great execution, at least now that we're on the goal line, and we'll see if they can punch it in. I assume they will.
Ian O'Connor's our guest. He's an award-winning sports writer and author and a columnist now for the New York Post. You know, Ian, put this in a little historic perspective because you mentioned Favre. Like, how different is the team that Rodgers is walking into than what Favre came to?
Well, I think this is a better team in terms of talent. I think that team didn't have the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, and it did have some talent. And again, they were in position to make a real run, and then Favre got hurt. But I think this Jets team is a very interesting team. The offensive line needs to be stabilized. That's obvious. But Garrett Wilson is going to be a monster in this league. And Breece Hall, if he can stay healthy, I think is going to be a really good player. And so you can argue, and the Jets internally and even publicly have made this argument, that they were a very good veteran quarterback away from being a real legitimate playoff threat. And so here's Aaron Rodgers. And what's interesting is Rodgers in the postseason has he's not been a sure bet at all. I mean, since he won a Super Bowl, I believe he's 7-9 in the postseason. And there have been some bad losses there. One of the worst was that first one after he won the Super Bowl. They were 15-1 in Lambeau Field, and I was there. They lost to the 9-7 Giants, and they got controlled in that game. And so he's had some bad moments. So one thing, I actually think, Maggie, there's more in this for Aaron Rodgers almost than there is for the Jets, because if he wins a championship in New York, which is probably not likely, but if he can pull that off, just think what that's going to do for his legacy. That's going to erase all of his postseason sins, if you will, and that gap between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady is going to shrink if he can pull that off. I think it's unlikely, but it's not impossible.
Ian, how will Aaron Rodgers fit into sort of the gallery of stars in New York City. I know I think Aaron Judge is maybe the biggest star here right now. Is he going to be embraced as a New York superstar, or is he a different animal altogether?
It's a good question. I think because the NFL is now bigger than baseball, I think he can be bigger than Aaron Judge. Somebody in the profession who's very accomplished sent me a note recently saying, comparing Aaron Rodgers to Kyrie Irving. He's that kind of quirky personality. And listen, if Kyrie Irving stayed healthy and stayed available and showed up for work and won, New York would have had no problem with his personality. I think the same holds true for Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not suggesting he's nearly as difficult to deal with maybe as Kyrie was, but if Aaron Rodgers wins, nobody's going to care about what he says on the Pat McAfee show every week. And if he's a little difficult to deal with in press conferences or at his locker and is sort of just a tough personality to embrace, he will be embraced as long as you win. I mean, it's a simple formula in New York and pretty much every market in the country.
Ian, where would you put this on, like, does it go on, like, forgive me for the sports talk radio cliche, but does it go on the Mount Rushmore of, like, moves that have been made in New York in terms of outsiders coming in? Does it get up there with, like, Gretzky? It doesn't go that high, does it?
It's close, but not that high. And Maggie, I'm going to, I guess, age myself here. The first one I remember, I'm 58 years old. The first one I remember is Willie Mays to the Mets in 1972. I was, 7 or 8 years old when that happened. And I actually do remember that. That was pretty damn big. And so you have Gretzky, you've got Messier, of course, you have Favre. A-Rod was huge coming to join Jeter, who wanted no part of it in 2004. Roger Clemens. There have been some really, really big acquisitions by New York sports teams. This is up there. I don't know if it's in the top 2 or 3, but close enough. And so obviously the Jets have to finish this deal off. And hey, I'd love to see it. I've never covered the Jets in a Super Bowl. I would love to be there. I've written this, and I wasn't a Jets fan growing up, but they've taken a lot of abuse and mockery in New York, and they've earned most of it. I think if they could finish this deal off, even though I wasn't in love initially with the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers, I think they deserve a lot of credit for, again, identifying who they wanted and really putting together a plan that worked and got Aaron Rodgers in New York and at least gives them a chance to be relevant and possibly competitive in the playoffs.
Ian O'Connor, columnist for the New York Post, award-winning sports writer. Ian, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it. Say hi to the Mets for me, okay?
Oh, you got it. Thanks, Maggie and Andrew. Take care.
Appreciate that. Ian on assignment at spring training, but joining us on the big news of the day, which is Aaron Rodgers intends to come to New York. Yeah.
I'm looking at Favre's Jets team.
Yeah, that was a good team.
They were somewhat loaded. They had the bare bones of the team that went to the AFC title game with Mark Sanchez. I do remember
Revis, obviously, who just got in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. The line had DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Alan Faneca, Nick Mangold, Damian Woody.
Yeah, that was a good line. You had Thomas Jones, who's a great running back.
I had forgotten the Favre injury. I knew he got hurt.
Yeah.
So he tore a tendon in his forearm and lost all his arm strength. Now, that doesn't explain why he threw a league-high 22 picks throughout the entire season, but that was Favre. I do feel this is different, but I think that's a pretty quick to say Rodgers has a better team because they are somewhat unproven. These are young guys. And Robert Saleh, that coach, is unproven too.
No doubt. It's going to be fascinating. I mean,
it's going to be fun.
How does he gel? Like that team with Favre, like guys weren't, Revis was young. He was 23, but like Thomas Jones was 30. Leon Washington was 26.
Ooh, loved Leon Washington.
Lavernius Coles was on that team, the wide receiver. Yeah. He was 31. It wasn't like such a super young team.
Well, listen.
Mangini, though, defensive coach, just like Robert Saleh.
I haven't been on social media in a little bit, but isn't Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, aren't they all taking credit for burning the hat and getting him here?
Oh, definitely. They burned the cheese heads. Like, this is what did it.
I think
he did not get asked about that on McAfee.
In a very entertaining way, they've become involved in the story in a positive way. So it started off on a great foot.
Wait, Manny, can we hear the last clip from Rodgers? Because it's just so Rodgers about when he was in the darkness retreat and what he saw on the ceiling.
There's not a lot of sounds in there. That's why the meditations in there are incredible because there's zero distractions, there's zero light. your eyes don't adjust, so you can't even see parts of the room. You have some hallucinations at some point where the room looks different than it actually does, and you really got to kind of walk around with one hand out here, one hand out over here, you know, bumping into stuff. But yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Queen's Gambit on the roof, hallucinating?
Yeah.
Really?
Whoa.
Wow. What day was that? What food was that? I'm sorry. Which?
Day three.
Thank you, Stu Kovacs, Manny Rodriguez, everyone in the chat. The callers, will see you tomorrow.